Chapter 434. 434 The Tao Enlightenment Palace. In front of them was a tall tower. It was dark black in color, extremely majestic and incomparably vast. It covered an area of 100 mu and was as tall as the mountain peak. No one knew how many layers it had. The heaven-reaching tower. It's just like its name. Lu Ming sighed. Then, Attendant Huang led the group forward. They flew past mountain after mountain, palace after palace, and in the sky. Occasionally, experts would fly past and look at them curiously. Those experts were not old. They looked to be in their late 20s. The older ones were only in their 30s. They were all in the golden age of warriors. However, the aura of these young powerhouses was extremely terrifying. Each of them had a monstrous aura and was unfathomable. Lu Ming felt that even the worst of them were at the half-step king realm. Some people were hard to predict, but they were definitely stronger than half-step king realm. Many of the young geniuses in Lu Ming's group were peerless geniuses in their respective areas. However, when they sensed the aura of those young experts, their faces turned pale. They were far too inferior. Cough cough. Don't be discouraged. Many of those young experts are the previous batch of Detian Divine Guards. They've cultivated for 5 years more than you, so they're naturally very strong. After 5 years, you won't necessarily be weaker than them. Deacon Huang shouted. That's right. In the future, I'll definitely be stronger. Me too. Many young men took a deep breath and regained their fighting spirit. Deacon Huang nodded in satisfaction. Not long after, they arrived in front of an extremely ancient and majestic palace. This is the Tao Enlightenment Palace. It's extremely wondrous. Once you enter, you can observe the changes in the intent realm of heaven and earth. It will greatly help you in comprehending the intent realm of heaven and earth. Attendant Huang introduced. What? It can help one comprehend the essence realm of heaven and earth. Everyone was shocked. That's right. Not only can it help one comprehend the essence realm of heaven and earth, but it can also help martial arts grandmasters and warriors comprehend force. Deacon Huang continued. What? It can even help one comprehend force? The eyes of many young men were already shining. Of course, the Tao Comprehension Palace can be said to be the sacred land of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace, second only to the 100 Deities Slope. It was established by the great palace master of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace, Martial Emperor D. Attendant Huang said smugly. Martial Emperor D, my God. All the young men were amazed. Martial Emperor D was high and mighty. He was one of the top experts in the divine wilderness continent. He was famous and his name was known throughout the ages. Who did not know him? This Tao Comprehension Palace was actually built by Martial Emperor D. It was exciting to think about it. Martial Emperor D. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Lu Ming was filled with fighting spirit. The supreme being of the 9 suns had only helped him suppress the bloodline aura of the 9 dragons for 10 years. Now, about a year had passed and there were still 9 years left. 9 years later, the power of the 9 suns supreme would disappear, and he would have to face Martial Emperor D. This was almost impossible. However, Lu Ming would not give up. He was full of motivation and fighting spirit. If other people knew what he was thinking, they would be scared to death. But I have to tell you that if you want to enter the Tao Enlightenment Palace to cultivate, it will cost you 100 supreme spiritual crystals for 1 day. Attendant Huang said with a smile. What? 100 top-grade spiritual crystals a day? Oh my God, this is too expensive. Everyone sucked in a cold breath. A supreme spiritual crystal was equivalent to 100 upper spiritual crystals, 10,000 middle spiritual crystals, and 1 million lower spiritual crystals. 100 supreme spiritual crystals were equivalent to 100 million lower spiritual crystals. 100 million lower spiritual crystals for a day of cultivation. It was as if a bucket of cold water had been poured on them. Their hearts turned cold. With their wealth, even if they used all they had, they would not be able to cultivate for a few days. Deacon Huang chuckled and did not say anything else. He continued flying forward. Not long after, they arrived in front of a huge mountain peak. On the mountain peak, ancient trees towered into the sky, spiritual birds flew in the air, and auspicious beasts lightly roared. It was a peaceful scene. One could see courtyards among the trees, layer upon layer, spread all over the mountain. No one knew how many there were. As soon as they arrived, they felt that the heaven and earth spiritual energy here was much denser than in other places. It was much denser than in the myriad star city. This is where you will live. Each of you will have a courtyard. The number of your courtyards has been marked on your divine guard tokens. You can check in with the correct number. Attendant Huang instructed. Many thanks, Deacon Huang. Everyone nodded. There are other wondrous places in the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace, but I won't bring you around one by one. In the future, you can slowly explore them on your own. With that, Deacon Huang flew in front of Lu Ming and smiled. Little brother Lu, you are the Eastern Sky Divine Guard. Your courtyard is not in this area, but on the peak of the mountain. There are 4 spiritual springs there, and 4 courtyards have been built at the source of the spiritual springs for the 4 divine guards to live in. Heavens, the courtyard is actually built on top of the spiritual spring. This treatment is too good. Someone exclaimed in admiration. Countless envious eyes fell on Lu Ming. The eye of the spiritual spring was a place where spiritual energy erupted. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth was unimaginably rich. They looked at Lu Ming with envy and jealousy. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He did not expect the Eastern Sky Divine Guards to be treated so well. No wonder everyone wanted to take this position. Being at the eye of the spiritual spring would be very beneficial to Lu Ming's cultivation. Brother Lu Ming, I'll bring you up. Attendant Huang said with a smile. Then I'll have to trouble Deacon Huang. Lu Ming cupped his fists. After that, Lu Ming and Deacon Huang flew towards the peak of the mountain, leaving behind a group of envious people. Sigh, it's really infuriating to compare people. Not only can Lu Ming live at the eye of the spiritual spring, but he also has a spot to enter the 100 deities slope. Even Deacon Huang has to curry favor with him. Someone sighed. This can't be helped. Who asked others to be more talented? There's no way to compare. Let's go find our own courtyard. Let's go. One by one, the young men flew down the mountain and walked toward the courtyards. Each courtyard was marked with a number, and everyone could check in according to the number. Lu Ming and Attendant Huang arrived at the peak of the mountain. Standing in the air, one could see a courtyard in each of the 4 directions of the mountain peak. The clouds and mist were everywhere, making it look like a fairyland. This was the courtyard where the 4 divine guards lived. Due to the size of the mountain peak, the 4 courtyards were separated by at least several li. The one on the east side is your courtyard. Attendant Huang pointed to the courtyard on the east side and introduced. Lu Ming nodded. Brother Lu, after several months of fighting, you must be tired. Go and rest. I won't disturb you any longer. If you need anything in the future, feel free to find me. Oh, and the courtyard of the 4 divine guards is surrounded by inscription formations. You need to use your divine guard token to open it. This is to prevent others from disturbing you when you cultivate. Deacon Huang said. Lu Ming, thank you, Deacon Huang. Lu Ming bowed. He naturally wouldn't reject the goodwill of others. Deacon Huang revealed a smile on his face. Then he turned into a ray of light and disappeared. Chapter 435. For 35 Mu Shiyuan. Lu Ming's figure moved and he appeared in front of the courtyard. The courtyard occupied a large area and the architecture was elegant. Lu Ming was very satisfied. On the door of the courtyard, there were a few words, East Heaven Courtyard. Lu Ming moved his hand and a purple gold token appeared. It was his divine guard token. Then, Lu Ming injected essential qi into the divine guard token. The token glowed with rays of light that extended to the courtyard. Buzz! The courtyard trembled and a light screen appeared. This light screen enveloped the entire courtyard. At this moment, the light screen in front of the gate split into 2. Not bad. Not bad. Lu Ming was very satisfied. In this way, he would not have to be afraid of others prying into his cultivation or his secrets in the future. Lu Ming walked in and the light screen closed automatically. In the courtyard, there was a small bridge, a flowing water, a pavilion, 2 rooms, and a living room. The courtyard was filled with a dense aura. Spiritual Qi. This fog was actually formed by the spiritual Qi of heaven and earth. The spiritual Qi of heaven and earth had actually turned into a physical form. It could be seen how rich the spiritual Qi of heaven and earth was here. Lu Ming sensed it carefully and felt that there was an endless amount of spiritual energy that was constantly surging out from the courtyard. The spiritual spring's eye is indeed wonderful. Let's cultivate then. Lu Ming immediately sat down cross-legged and condensed his 9-dragon bloodline. Roar! The 9-dragon bloodline roared and inhaled. A terrifying devouring power burst out. Ooh! The rich spiritual energy in the world was gathering towards Lu Ming. The boundless spiritual energy of heaven and earth was devoured by the 9 dragons' bloodline and turned into Lu Ming's essential qi. The essential qi that was condensed from the spirit qi of heaven and earth was extremely pure. It continuously gathered with Lu Ming's essential qi and condensed it. Lu Ming could feel that his essential qi was constantly becoming purer and more condensed. It was slowly advancing and approaching the 9th level of the martial arts Grandmaster realm. 6 hours later, Lu Ming finally opened his eyes. Awesome, this is awesome. The heaven and earth spiritual qi here is dozens of times, even hundreds of times stronger than outside. 1 day of cultivation here is equivalent to 100 days of cultivation outside. Lu Ming secretly sighed. After the cultivation earlier, although Lu Ming had not broken through to the 9th level of the martial ancestor realm, he was infinitely close to it. Lu Ming estimated that if he continued to cultivate here for half a month, he would be able to break through to the 9th level of the martial ancestor realm. This speed was already very fast. One had to know that Lu Ming had already cultivated the true war dragon technique to the 7th stage. The density of his essential qi was 8 times that of ordinary essential qi. The amount of energy required was simply too much. If Lu Ming only relied on absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to cultivate, he would need at least a few years to break through to the 9th level of the martial ancestor realm in the outside world. The spiritual energy here could greatly speed up Lu Ming's cultivation speed. This is a really good place. Lu Ming immediately continued cultivating. This cultivation lasted for 2 days. On this day, Lu Ming was cultivating when he suddenly felt the Divine Guard token vibrate slightly. Lu Ming stopped cultivating and took a look at the Divine Guard token. There's someone outside. Lu Ming had an idea. Who is it? Could it be Jian Fengyun? Lu Ming did not know many people in the Emperor Sky Divine Palace. Who is looking for him now? He stood up and walked out. The token glowed, and the light screen automatically separated. Outside the courtyard, a handsome young man in a white robe stood with his hands behind his back. The young man was about 27 or 28 years old. He stood with his hands behind his back and did not exude any aura. However, Lu Ming felt as if he was looking up at a tall mountain. This young man was like an insurmountable mountain just by standing there. What the profound cultivation! This man is definitely a peerless master of the martial king realm. Lu Ming's eyes flashed and he had an idea. The young man in white smiled warmly when he saw Lu Ming. Lu Ming? Yes, I am. May I know who you are? Lu Ming asked. I'm Mu Xiu Yuan, and I'm just an ordinary Emperor Heaven Divine Guard of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. The white-robed youth laughed. Mu! Lu Ming had an idea and asked tentatively, Oh? I've never seen Brother Mu before. May I know why Brother Mu has come to find me? It's nothing serious. It's just that you've just arrived, so there's something I have to remind you of. Mu Shuyuan said. What is it? Lu Ming asked. Lu Ming, you didn't go out for the past few days. Right now, The new batch of D10 Divine Guards is spreading rumors that the Eastern Sky Divine Guards don't live up to their name. They have the lowest combat strength and cultivation and shouldn't occupy such good resources. Mu Shuyuan said. There's such a thing. Lu Ming frowned. It's absolutely true. Furthermore, this time, the east side is indeed the weakest. The south, north, and west side all have half-step king warriors. The other 3 divine guards are all half-step king warriors. Furthermore, the south and west side each have 2 half-step king warriors. The competition is extremely intense. Only the east side. There is not a single half-step king warrior. I heard that the 2 half-step king warriors from the south and west side have already set their eyes on you. I'm afraid they will challenge you. Once you lose, they will be able to take the throne of the Eastern Sky Divine Guard and occupy your residence. More importantly, they will take away your spot to enter the 100 Deities slope. Mu Shuyuan said. Oh. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He then looked at Mu Shuyuan and said, What I'm more curious about is why you're telling me this for no reason. You don't need to know that. You'd better be careful during this period. Having said that, Mu Shuyuan turned around, took a step, and disappeared. What a fast speed. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. Even with his eyesight, he almost couldn't see how Mu Shuyuan had left. This Mu Shuyuan is probably more than a level 1 martial king. He might be even stronger. Who is he? Why did you remind me out of the kindness of your heart? You're also surnamed Mu. I wonder what your relationship with senior sister Mulan is? Lu Ming's mind was filled with thoughts and doubts. After thinking for a long time, he could not think of a reason. Forget it, I'll go in and sort things out. It's time to convert the resources into strength. Lu Ming muttered, turned around and walked into the courtyard. A moment later, in an ancient hall of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace, Mu Xiaoyuan reported the news to an old man. I have already reminded Lu Ming. Mu Shuyuan said. That's good. Although Lu Ming is not bad, he's still far from that person. We can't help him too much. Just a reminder will do. If he wants to become a powerful person, he has to rely on himself in the end. Only by going through trials and tribulations can he continue to become stronger. In the future, there's a slight possibility that he can compete with that person. The old man said with a sigh. It's hard. However, that girl has good taste. She actually found such a genius in the small Cloud Emperor mountain range. Mu Shuyuan said with a smile. After the two of them chatted for a while, Mu Shuyuan took his leave. Little girl, you can't go against your father's decision. The old man sighed softly and then fell silent. Chapter 436. 436 50 billion crystals. Lu Ming entered the Supreme Shrine and took out all the storage rings that he had obtained during this period of time. He cleaned them up. A day later, they were finally done. The harvest this time was extremely terrifying. It was far beyond Lu Ming's expectations. There were too many of them. Most importantly, there were more than 1,000 other storage rings in Zhang Sheng's storage ring. All of them were obtained from killing other geniuses and had yet to be counted. After counting, Lu Ming himself was somewhat dumbfounded. Spiritual crystals, all kinds of middle and upper spiritual crystals. If they were exchanged for lower spiritual crystals, they would be worth 56 billion. Yes, more than 50 billion spiritual crystals. What a terrifying number. Lu Ming's heart trembled, and his eyes were filled with ecstasy. There were also some other materials, spirit weapons and the like not included. I'm rich. These spiritual crystals are enough for me to use for a while. If I can convert all these spiritual crystals into strength, my strength will increase by a large margin. Lu Ming was overjoyed. Then, with a wave of his hand, 2 pitch-black branches appeared. These 2 pitch-black branches were the 2 that had spurted out from the Heaven's Gate. Initially, Lu Ming only had one. The other one fell on Autumn Water's hand. However, he had killed Li Autumn Water before, so this branch naturally fell into his hands. I don't know what use it has. Lu Ming muttered and kept it. Then, Lu Ming got up and left the courtyard. He turned into a rainbow and flew into the distance. The place he wanted to go to was one of the more famous places in the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace, the Mystical Treasure House. In the Mystical Treasure Hall, you can exchange for all kinds of treasures and have sold all kinds of treasures. The Qijian house was extremely majestic. It was a few hundred meters tall and covered an area of a few thousand mu. Inside, people came and went, and it was very lively. It's so huge. Lu Ming sighed. In fact, every sect would build a facility like the Mystical Treasure Hall so that their disciples could exchange for treasures. The Mystical Sword sect had one as well, but it was many times smaller than the Mystical Treasure House in the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace. Lu Ming walked in. In the hall, people came and went. At a glance, there were no less than thousands of people. Look who's that? Lu Ming, he's Lu Ming, the Eastern Sky Divine Guard this time. So he's Lu Ming. He's quite young. What Eastern Sky Divine Guards? He's just lucky. There aren't any decent masters in the East, so he took over the Eastern Sky Divine Guards. That's right, if we leave him in the South, he'll be able to escape. He's not even in the top 5. Just wait and see. The half-step king from the South has his eyes on the throne of the Eastern Sky Divine Guards. He's been in seclusion for the past few days. When he comes out, he'll definitely challenge Lu Ming. His position as the Eastern Sky Divine Guard won't last long. That's right. He's not strong, but he has such good cultivation resources. Who would be convinced? Let's wait for a good show. A series of discussions sounded in the surroundings. Of course, most of them were the new Ditian Divine Guards that had joined this year. There were also some Ditian Divine Guards from the previous batch who looked over curiously. Naturally, Lu Ming heard it too. He sneered and could not be bothered with it. He walked to a room. Inside the room was the place to buy and sell and exchange items. Little brother, what do you need? An old man with a smile asked. I want to exchange all the lower, middle, and upper spiritual crystals for supreme spiritual crystals. Is that possible? Lu Ming asked. Of course you can, but you'll have to pay a 1% fee. The old man replied with a smile. He was not surprised. There were many people who came to exchange for top-grade spirit crystals every day. When one's cultivation reached the half-step king realm or even king realm, spirit crystals of other grades would be useless. Only supreme-grade spirit crystals would have any effect. Therefore, warriors above the half-step king realm would exchange their spirit crystals for supreme-grade spirit crystals. 1%. Lu Ming's gaze flickered. Young man, how many crystals do you have to exchange? The old man continued to ask with a smile. Yes, I have 50 billion lower spiritual crystals. I'll exchange them all for supreme spiritual crystals. Lu Ming said. Alright, huh? What? 50 billion? The old man casually agreed, but the next moment, he reacted. The smile on his face froze, and his eyes widened. Previously, he thought that Lu Ming was not very old and would not have many spiritual crystals to exchange for it. He did not expect Lu Ming to say such an astronomical figure. What's wrong? I can't exchange for it? Then I'll exchange for less. Lu Ming said. No, I can exchange. The old man hurriedly called out. The smile on his face became even more brilliant. Previously, his smile was just a professional habit. Now, his smile was completely sincere. If he exchanged for 50 billion lower spiritual crystals, the fee would be as high as 500 million. He would be able to take a large amount of commission from it. How could he not be happy? Little brother, wait a moment. The old man ran out in a hurry and returned after a while with a storage ring in his hand. Young man, there are 50,000 supreme spiritual crystals in total. Please count them. The old man passed the storage ring to Lu Ming. Lu Ming took it. With a thought, a milky white crystal appeared in his hand. It was filled with extremely dense energy. The spiritual qi contained in the top-grade spiritual crystal was almost solid. Ordinary martial artists could not refine it at all. Only half-step kings and above could. Lu Ming scanned the ring with his mind and found that there were exactly 50,000 pieces of top-grade spiritual crystals in the storage ring. Lu Ming nodded. He waved his hand and a few storage rings appeared. Senior, there are middle spiritual crystals, upper spiritual crystals, and lower spiritual crystals in here. They add up to 5 billion. Please count them. Lu Ming said. Good, good. The old man took the storage ring and began to count. Lu Ming waited patiently. The old man took a full 2 hours to finish counting. That's right, it's 5 billion. The old man nodded and put it away with a smile. He then asked, Little brother, do you need anything else? Senior, I have some spirit weapons, martial arts techniques, materials, and so on. Help me take a look and see how many top-grade spirit crystals I can exchange for them. I'll exchange them all. Lu Ming took out a few more storage rings. The old man took it and counted it carefully. These items were worth about 10 billion in the end. Lu Ming had an additional 10,000 pieces of supreme-grade spirit crystals. The old man laughed so hard that he couldn't close his mouth. Senior, I need to buy a batch of half-step king beast cores. How many spirit crystals for one? Lu Ming asked. Lu Ming intended to purchase a batch of demonic cores and rush his cultivation to the peak of the 9th level of the martial ancestor realm as soon as possible. When one's cultivation reached the peak of the 9th level of the martial ancestor realm, one could fully focus on comprehending force. Half-step king beast core, 100 supreme grade spirit crystals for one. The old man said. It's really expensive. Lu Ming thought to himself. Chapter 437. 437 9th level of martial ancestor. 100 supreme spiritual crystals were equivalent to 100 million lower spiritual crystals. Senior, give me 100. Lu Ming said. 100. The old man was shocked, but after the series of events just now, he was already a little numb. Then he took out 100 demonic cores of half-step kings and Lu Ming took out 10,000 supreme-grade spirit crystals. Money and goods. Lu Ming was very satisfied with the demonic core. He sighed inwardly. No wonder the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace was one of the strongest powers in the eastern region of the mysterious Sky region. If it was in the Blazing Sun Empire or even the Cloud Emperor mountain range, it would be almost impossible to buy a half-step King Realm Beast core. Lu Ming kept the demonic core and left the mystical treasure hall, satisfied. Back at the Eastern Sky courtyard, Lu Ming sat cross-legged and waved his hand. 100 demonic cores floated in the air. Begin, devour. Roar. The bloodline of the 9 dragons emerged, and it roared into the sky. It opened its mouth and inhaled. Buzz. Buzz. Immediately, 5 monster cores were swallowed by the bloodline of the 9 dragons. Boom! The demonic pill was swallowed by the bloodline of the 9 dragons and exploded, turning into rolling energy that was constantly being refined. After his 9 dragon bloodline reached the 5th level of the king tier, the power of devouring and refining had increased by many times. The speed of refining was terrifying. The energy, impurities, and harmful substances in the demonic core were constantly being refined. The remaining pure energy essence was constantly surging into Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming circulated the true War Dragon technique at full force and began to break through to the next realm. Originally, he had already reached the peak of the 8th level of the martial ancestor realm. Now, he was trying to break through to the 9th level. Boom! Boom! The demonic pill of a half-step demonic king contained extremely dense energy. The bottleneck of the 9th martial ancestor realm started to loosen. Not enough, give me 5 more. The 9-dragon bloodline opened its mouth and swallowed another 5 demon cores. Boom! Pang Bo's energy rushed into Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's body trembled and he broke through the bottleneck of the 9th grade martial ancestor realm. He had reached the 9th level of the martial ancestor realm. Continue. Let's rush to the peak of the 9th level of martial ancestor realm. Lu Ming's eyes were burning as he continued to devour the demonic cores of the semi-demonic kings. After reaching the 9th level of the martial ancestor realm, the demonic pill of a half-step demonic king would slow down his cultivation. However, Lu Ming had bought 100 demonic cores, which was enough to support him. Lu Ming's cultivation level kept increasing. 3 days later, Lu Ming had refined all 100 demonic cores. His cultivation had also successfully advanced to the peak of the 9th level martial ancestor realm. At this point, no matter how hard Lu Ming tried, it would be difficult for him to make any progress. Further down was the comprehension of force. By controlling force to comprehend intent, one only needed to comprehend a trace of the intent realm of heaven and earth. He could use the intent realm of heaven and earth to refine his true chi and slowly transform it into a higher level of energy, true origin. This process was extremely difficult. When most of the genuine chi in his body had been converted into genuine vitality, he still needed to comprehend a complete realm of heaven and earth and form a rune of realm in his sea of consciousness. After that, they still had to go through the trial of the lightning tribulation before they could become a king. A king was like a blade, a heavenly chasm. Wanting to cross it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Countless geniuses were often stuck at the half-step king level. Many of them had even formed intent runes at the last step, but they died tragically under the lightning tribulation. There were too many such examples. However, once he broke through to the martial king realm, he would achieve a substantial leap. Not only would his combat strength be greatly enhanced, but his lifespan would also be extended to 1,000 years. A king had 1,000 years of life and could look down on the changes of the world. They could see the rise and fall of generations of talents. Grandmasters, on the other hand, could only live for 200 years at most, not much longer than ordinary people. A king, in a sense, had already broken away from the category of mortals. It was simply too difficult to break through to the king tier. The Blazing Sun Empire, for example, had not had a king for over 1,000 years. Some mid-tier empires might have kings, but they were all low-tier kings. It might take hundreds or thousands of years for one to appear. 2 kings would be considered good. Only high-tier empires had more kings. Many geniuses claimed to have the potential to become martial kings when they were young, but most of them were exaggerated. It was only a possibility, and most of them would not be able to break through to the king's realm. Lu Ming's next step was to master the 2 types of forces to perfection. After force reached perfection, one could go one step further and comprehend intent. Tao Enlightenment Palace. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Then, he got up and left the courtyard, heading towards the Tao Enlightenment Palace. The Tao Enlightenment Palace could help people comprehend Shi, so he naturally had to make use of it. Soon, Lu Ming arrived at the Tao Enlightenment Palace. In front of the Tao Enlightenment Palace, there were 7 white-haired old men sitting cross-legged. Each of them looked like an ordinary old man. They didn't give off any aura and looked like 7 ordinary old men. However, Lu Ming did not dare to underestimate him. Those who could guard the Tao Enlightenment Palace were definitely martial king realm experts. They might look ordinary now, but once they exploded, it would definitely be earth-shattering. Senior, I want to enter the Tao Comprehension Palace to cultivate. Lu Ming cupped his fists and bowed. Sure, 100 top-grade spiritual crystals a day. How many days do you want to go in? He asked. An old man with a face full of wrinkles said, I want a month. Lu Ming said. Then he took out 3,000 supreme spiritual crystals and handed them to the old man. The old man took it and nodded. 1 month, he said. Then, a beam of light entered the door of the Tao Enlightenment Palace. The door rippled with light and a light screen appeared. On the light screen, a whirlpool appeared. The door is open. Go in. Remember, 1 month later, the Tao Enlightenment Palace will send you out on time. The old man reminded. Many thanks, Senior. Lu Ming cupped his fists and strode forward. He stepped into the vortex and the world spun. In the next moment, Lu Ming found himself standing in a piece of chaos. Yes, the surroundings seemed to be in chaos. There was no up or down. It was all hazy. Boom! All of a sudden, a deafening explosion was heard. Lu Ming then saw a light spot shining in the chaos in the distance before it exploded. Voila! Chaos was surging. Endless intent realms and laws of heaven and earth were entangled, forming a complete world. This was a scene that could only be seen when the heavens and earth were created. The essence realm of heaven and earth. What a powerful essence realm of heaven and earth. So many essence realms of heaven and earth. Lu Ming felt that his surroundings were filled with various concepts of heaven and earth. All of a sudden, two kinds of intent domains of heaven and earth became especially clear and filled the world. It was the intent of wind and fire. They were also the two types of forces that Lu Ming had comprehended. Could it be that different forces or intents will appear here according to the different forces or intents that each person has comprehended? Martial Emperor D is indeed hard to predict. Lu Ming's eyes flashed and he thought solemnly. I don't care about that. I'll comprehend it first. Lu Ming immediately sat down cross-legged, allowing himself to enter an ethereal state. He extended his thoughts and felt the wind and fire between heaven and earth. The wind and fire concepts were too profound. Lu Ming had only used the wind and fire concepts to comprehend force. Chapter 438. 438 Chapter 438 Despair. Firstly, Lu Ming had comprehended the force of fire. Fire was scorching, explosive, and incinerating everything. It represented destruction, but it also represented life. Lu Ming's mind was empty as he focused on comprehending the force of fire. With the fire force that he had comprehended and the fire concept from the outside world, Lu Ming's comprehension of fire force had advanced by leaps and bounds. Time flew by quickly as Lu Ming cultivated. In the blink of an eye, 7 days had passed. In the Cloud Emperor mountain range, the mystical sword sect of the Burning Sun Empire. In the meeting hall of the mystical sword sect, Lin Shui, the sect leader of the mystical sword sect, Ling Padian, the valley master of the Crimson Cloud Valley, Shengguan Ming of the Ghost Moon Saber sect, the other higher-ups of the mystical sword sect and the Crimson Cloud Valley, Hua Qi and the other higher-ups of the royal family, and Yen Quan were all gathered. How's the war going? Lin Shui asked a golden-robed elder of the mystical sword sect. Sect leader, just like before, the main focus of the 10-direction sword sect is defense. There will only be occasional small-scale attacks. The gold-robed elder reported. It seems like our guess was right. That sinister Qiu Wiang must be waiting for the results of the selection. If Qiu Changkong joins the Empyrean Sky Divine Guards, he can use the Empyrean Sky Divine Palace's power to deal with us. Lin Shui's face was serious. That's right. The Detian Divine Guards are extremely powerful. If they mobilize the forces of some mid-tier empires to deal with us, we'll be in deep trouble. Moreover, Qiu Changkong has a powerful backer behind him. Shengguan Ming said in a deep voice. Everyone sighed, their expressions grave. This question had been on everyone's mind for more than half a year. Now, we can only hope that Lu Ming will succeed. If Lu Ming becomes the Detian Divine Guard, then even if Qiu Changkong joins the Detian Divine Guard, he will still have some reservations. Lin Shui said. The selection of the Detian Divine Guards should have ended 10 days ago. Is there still no news from them? Ling Padian said anxiously. I have already sent a group of people to wait for news in the Cloud Desolate Empire's imperial capital. Once there is news, it will be sent back as quickly as possible. Lin Shui said. I'm really worried to death. Ling Padian grinned. He had always been impatient, and this matter concerned the fate of the sect, so he was even more anxious. Calm down. If it's a blessing, it's not a disaster. If it's a disaster, you can't avoid it. Lin Shui said. Although he said this, he was still very anxious in his heart. Sect leader, we have news. At this moment, a burly middle-aged man flew in from outside and shouted. This middle-aged man was wearing a golden robe, and he was obviously a golden-robed elder. Elder Feng, is there any news about the Detian Divine Guard selection? Lin Shui stood up and asked nervously. Not bad, there's news. Elder Feng nodded heavily. Qiu Changkong, how is Qiu Changkong? Did he become a Ditian divine guard? Ling Padian asked anxiously. Qiu Changkong? He has indeed become a Ditian divine guard. Elder Feng thought for a moment before he spoke. What? Did Qiu Changkong really become an Empyrean Heaven divine guard? Lin Shui, Ling Padian, Hua Qi, and the others' faces all changed. The worst thing had still happened. Qiu Changkong had actually successfully become a Ditian divine guard. Everyone's hearts were extremely heavy. According to the news, Qiu Changkong had a fortuitous encounter this time and became extremely powerful. Not only did he become an Emperor Sky Divine Guard, but he also passed the last stage and participated in the battle for the East Sky Divine Guard. Many of the strongest geniuses of the Emperor Sky in super regions were defeated by him, and he finally made it into the top 3 in the battle for the East Sky Divine Guard. Elder Feng said. What? Everyone's faces changed. Boom! Everyone couldn't control their breathing and stood up from their chairs. Their faces were pale and they looked terrible. How could this be? How did this happen? Lin Shui kept repeating the same words. She couldn't accept the news. Ling Padian, Hua Qi, and the others also had ugly expressions. How can Qiu Changkong be so strong? How is this possible? Many people growled in disbelief. They really wished they were dreaming. Not only had Qiu Changkong joined the Ditian Divine Guards, but he had also participated in the battle for the East Heaven Divine Guards and had even made it into the top 3. This was unbelievable. At the same time, it was a heavy blow to everyone. Since Qiu Changkong was so terrifying, he would definitely be placed in an even more important position in the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace. His status and power would definitely be greater as well. It must be his master. It must be. Without his master's help, how could Qiu Changkong have reached this level? An old imperial uncle of the imperial family growled in a low voice. He was filled with unwillingness. Now that Qiu Changkong had reached such a level, the imperial family would never be able to take revenge. Bang! Lin Shui seemed to have been drained of all her strength. She sat down heavily on the chair, a trace of despair in her eyes. If even the strongest geniuses in a super-large region were no match for Qiu Changkong, how could they fight back? What could he use to resist? Well, sect leader and everyone else, I'm not done with my information. Elder Feng hurriedly said when he saw the expressions on everyone's faces. You haven't finished? Could it be that Qiu Changkong is going to do something even more shocking? Ling Padian asked. That's not it. It's about Lu Ming. Elder Feng said. Oh, has Lu Ming joined the Ditian Divine Guards? Hua Qiqiang asked, raising his spirits. That's right. Lu Ming is indeed a genius. He successfully joined the Ditian Divine Guard. I heard that only 3 people from the 36 empires of Emperor Yun joined the Ditian Divine Guard. Elder Feng said rather smugly. Lu Ming has joined the Ditian Divine Guards. Ha, I knew it. He would definitely succeed. Hua Qi's eyes lit up as he smiled. He was happy for Lu Ming. However, the others were not happy at all. If they had heard about Qiu Changkong before, they would have been extremely excited. But now, they couldn't be happy. The ordinary Ditian Divine Guards were far inferior to the geniuses who could compete for the East Sky Divine Guards. There was no comparison at all. Moreover, Qiu Changkong had entered the top 3. Not only was his personal combat strength much stronger than the ordinary Empyrean Heaven's Divine Guards, but his status and authority were also much higher. He did not have to worry about Lu Ming at all. They were still in a worrying situation. Lu Ming is indeed a peerless genius. To think that he could become an Empyrean Heavenly Divine Guard. He can be said to be a genius that only appears once in 1,000 years in the Blazing Sun Empire. What a pity! What a pity that he met Qiu Changkong. Lin Shui sighed. Sect leader, everyone, I'm not done with my information. Lu Ming did not just join the Ditian Divine Guards. Elder Feng continued. Could it be that Lu Ming also passed the last stage and participated in the fight for the Eastern Sky Divine Guards? The eyes of Lin Shui, Ling Padian, Hua Qi, and the others lit up. Although reason told them that it was almost impossible because it was too difficult, they still hoped that it was real and that a miracle would happen. Chapter 439. For 39 Chapter 439 the whole clan celebrating. To be able to participate in the contest for the Eastern Sky Divine Guards was a leap, a qualitative leap. He had completely entered the ranks of the strongest geniuses in the eastern part of the Tianxian region. If Lu Ming could reach this level, even if he was not Qiu Changkong's match, he would not be too far off. He would definitely be valued by the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace. Qiu Changkong would more or less have some scruples, and they would have room to negotiate. At the scene, everyone looked at Elder Feng expectantly, hoping that he would nod. Elder Feng nodded. That's right. Not only did Lu Ming pass the last round, but he also participated in the fight for the Ditian Divine Guards. He even died. Lu Ming actually passed the last level. That's great, that's great. I didn't misjudge him. Now, the omnipresent sword sect will have to think twice if they want to destroy us. Before Elder Feng could finish his sentence, Ling Padian started laughing madly. His face was filled with joy, and even his beard was raised. That's right. Lu Ming is a genius. I was wrong about him back then. Lin Shui also sighed, but her eyes were also filled with ecstasy. I knew it. Lu Ming will definitely create miracles. Hua Qi's face was also filled with ecstasy. The others were also all smiling and extremely excited. Previously, they did not expect that Lu Ming could actually reach this level. This was really great news. Someone, tell this good news to old Master Lu and Madame Lu. Lin Shui laughed. Wait a moment, sect leader, I'm not done yet. Elder Feng cried out again. The entire place fell silent again. I say, brother, you're a big man. Can't you just say everything in one go? Don't be so wishy-washy. Ling Padian called out. Sect Master Ling, I wanted to say it just now, but you interrupted me. Elder Feng said with a bitter expression. Weren't you too excited just now? Ling Padian grinned. All right, Elder Feng. If there's any other news, please tell us. Lin Shui said. Yes, Sect Master. It's about Lu Ming. Not only did he participate in the battle for the Eastern Sky Divine Guards, but he also won the throne of the Eastern Sky Divine Guards in the end. Elder Feng nodded and told him the news in one breath. When he finished, he felt that the atmosphere was not right. Silence. There was complete silence. Not even the sound of breathing could be heard. Everyone was stunned as they stared at Elder Feng in a daze. Elder Feng laughed bitterly. He had expected everyone to react this way. When he first heard the news, he had also had this expression on his face. In fact, it was even more exaggerated. The Eastern Sky Divine Guards? Are you saying that Lu Ming has taken over the Eastern Sky Divine Guards? After a long time, Lin Shui was the first to react and asked in disbelief. Brother, is this news true? You're not lying to us, right? Ling Padian asked in a daze. He simply couldn't believe it. It's true. The Cloud Desolate Empire's royal family has already confirmed this news. They might even send people over to congratulate. Elder Feng said. Lin Shui, Ling Padian, Hua Qi, and the others looked at each other. They could see the indescribable excitement in each other's eyes. Eastern Sky Divine Guards, Eastern Sky Divine Guards, haha, what will the 10 Direction Sword Sect do now? Ling Padian laughed wildly. Peerless genius, peerless genius. Shengguan Ming sighed. As for Hua Qi and those who were on good terms with Lu Ming, such as Yen Lan, they were so excited that they were trembling. Lan, you have good taste. This time, you have hope. Yen Lan sighed. Lu Ming, I didn't expect you to have reached this stage. Yen Quan also sighed in his heart. He was glad that he had made the decision to help Lu Ming for 10 years. Given Lu Ming's talent, he believed that Lu Ming would surpass him very soon. In fact, Lu Ming had already surpassed him. In the future, he would most likely still need Lu Ming's help. At the scene, everyone was extremely excited. They were just short of shouting out loud to express their emotions. They did not even dare to dream that Lu Ming could actually take over the Eastern Sky Divine Guards. This was like stepping on the strongest geniuses from many super-large regions. It was already unimaginable to be able to fight for the Eastern Sky Divine Guards, let alone the Eastern Sky Divine Guards. This time, Lu Ming would definitely be put in an important position. Qiu Changkong would definitely not dare to act rashly and use his power to interfere in the affairs of the Burning Sun Empire. Sect leader, sect leader. At this moment, a Silavira-robed elder rushed in. What's the matter? Lin Shui was in a good mood and asked with a smile. Sect leader, the Cloud Desolate Empire royal family is here to congratulate. The Silavira-robed elder said. He didn't know about the news and was a little surprised. He didn't know why the Cloud Desolate Empire royal family had come. The Cloud Desolate Empire was without a doubt the strongest out of the 36 empires of Emperor Yun. It was more than 10 times stronger than the Blazing Sun Empire. He's really here. Quick, go out and welcome him. Lin Shui quickly got up. The others followed suit. When they arrived at the mountain gate of the Mystical Sword Sect, they saw dozens of people. There was a total of more than 30 people, all of whom were standing in the air. Without a doubt, they were all martial ancestor realm powerhouses. The one in the lead was wearing a dragon robe, and he was emitting a powerful aura. He was a half-step king. Cloud Desolate Empire's honored guests have arrived. Please forgive me for not welcoming you. Lin Shui quickly cupped her fists. You must be sect leader Lin of the Mystic Essence Sword Sect. Ha, no need to be so polite. I am the Qi King of the Cloud Desolate Empire, and I am here to congratulate sect leader Lin. I heard that Lu Ming is from the Mystical Sword Sect. I didn't expect that the Mystical Sword Sect would have a genius like Lu Ming. He won the East Heaven Divine Guards and greatly increased the prestige and reputation of the 36 kingdoms of the Cloud Emperor. He has also increased the reputation of the Cloud Emperor mountain range. Therefore, I'm here to congratulate him. The middle-aged man in the Flood Dragon robe said. Lin Shui and the others were extremely excited. Previously, when Elder Feng said that, even though they were extremely excited, they were still afraid that there might be a mistake in the news. But now that even the Prince of the Cloud Desolate Empire had come personally to congratulate, there was definitely no mistake. Your Highness, please come in. Someone, prepare a banquet to welcome Your Highness. Lin Shui loudly ordered. Yes. Someone immediately went to carry out the order. Also, inform Old Master Lu and Madame Lu about this news. Also, invite Old Master Lu and Madame Lu over. Remember, you must be respectful and can't show the slightest neglect. Lin Shui ordered. Yes, don't worry, sect leader. One of the gold-robed elders left to carry out the order. Oh, so Lu Ming's parents are here as well. I would like to see what kind of person can give birth to such a peerless genius like Lu Ming. The Cloud Desolate Empire's De Qi King laughed. The Mystical Sword Sect held a grand banquet to celebrate the occasion. When Lu Yuntian and Li Ping heard the news, they were incomparably excited and happy. Li Ping was so moved that tears flowed down her face. In contrast to the celebration in the Mystical Sword Sect, the conference hall in the 10-Direction Sword Sect was filled with tension. Damn it, damn that Lu Ming. How did he take over the Eastern Sky Divine Guards? How is that possible? Qiu Wuyang roared, exuding a terrifying aura and cold killing intent. In the main hall, the others were silent, not making a sound. After a long time, Qiu Wuyang's voice was heard again. Pass on my order. Pull back our forces and wait for news from Long Sky. Chapter 440. 440 A Good Dog. Emperor Heaven Divine Palace, Tao Comprehension Palace. Suddenly, a strong gust of wind swept around Lu Ming's body. It was as cold as a knife. Buzz! Lu Ming suddenly stood up. His body trembled and he floated like a ghost, as light as a feather. After a long time, he stopped in place. The force of wind has finally reached perfection. Lu Ming's eyes were extremely bright. His wind and fire force was already at the limit of the major achievement realm. After 7 days of comprehension in the Tao Enlightenment Palace, he had finally reached the Great Perfection realm. However, it also showed that the Tao Enlightenment Palace was indeed wonderful. In just 7 days, it could help Lu Ming break through. Now, I'll begin to comprehend the force of fire. Then, Lu Ming sat cross-legged and continued to comprehend the force of fire. In the blink of an eye, another 7 days had passed. Lu Ming's power of fire had also reached the perfect stage. In just half a month, Lu Ming's wind and fire force had all reached the perfect stage. Buzz! Lu Ming held the long spear and gathered the power of wind and fire. With a slight shake, the space rumbled and a spear ray burst out, flying to an unknown distance. A satisfied smile appeared on Lu Ming's face. His wind and fire force had reached perfection. Lu Ming's combat strength had increased by a large margin. There was a huge difference between the perfection and the completion of force. The difference was several times. After the fusion of wind and fire force, its power was even more powerful. At this moment, Lu Ming's combat strength was infinitely close to that of a level 7 genius. That's right. Initially, Lu Ming had already reached level 6. Now, he was infinitely close to level 7. I've said a month's time. There's still half a month left, just enough time to cultivate the Dragon God's 3 absolutes. Lu Ming pondered. With both forces at the peak, he could already cultivate the Dragon God's 3 absolutes to the 2nd level. Just like that, Lu Ming continued his closed-door cultivation and devoted himself to cultivating the Dragon God's 3 absolutes. In the Tao Enlightenment Palace, he combined the wind and fire intents to cultivate the Dragon God's 3 absolutes. His speed was terrifyingly fast. Half a month later, Lu Ming had successfully cultivated the Dragon God's 3 absolutes to the 2nd stage. This caused his combat strength to skyrocket once again, and he was now a level 7 genius. These spiritual crystals were so worth it. Lu Ming's face was full of smiles. At this time, the 1-month period was almost up. Lu Ming left the Tao Enlightenment Palace and flew towards the Eastern Sky Courtyard. Not long after, Lu Ming arrived at the Eastern Sky Courtyard. He used the Divine Guard token to activate the inscription formation and walked in. He didn't notice that in the distant sky, a young man was watching him enter. Lu Ming has finally finished cultivating and returned. I'll report to Senior Brother Kai Go immediately. The young man muttered. With a flash, he flew towards one of the courtyards of the Ditian Divine Guard. Lu Ming returned to the courtyard and sat on a stone chair in the pavilion in the courtyard. He poured himself a glass of wine and sipped it slowly while admiring the flowing water under the small bridge. He had been in seclusion for more than a month. It was time for him to relax a little. May I know where Senior Sister Mulan is? If she's here, she should have heard the news that I've become a Divine Guard of the East Heaven and will come to find me. It seems that I have to find some time to inquire about it. I wonder how the war is going in the Burning Sun Empire? I'm sure the results of the Emperor Sky Divine Guard selection have already been sent back to the Blazing Sun Empire. Now that I've become the Eastern Sky Divine Guard, Qiu Changkong shouldn't dare to act rashly. The war in the Blazing Sun Empire shouldn't have too many changes in the short term. The most troublesome thing is his master. I wonder which great figure in the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace is Qiu Changkong's master? Lu Ming pondered as he drank. Lu Ming, get out here. Suddenly, a loud roar came like a storm. Lu Ming's eyes suddenly shot out 2 long beams of light that flickered. It's finally here. The corners of Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. Then he poured himself a full cup of wine and drank it in one gulp. He stood up and strode out. Walking out of the courtyard, he saw a young man in his mid-20s standing in the air, staring at the eastern sky courtyard with burning eyes. At the sight of Lu Ming, the young man's eyes lit up and he shouted, "Lu Ming, you've been hiding like a turtle for more than a month, and you've finally shown yourself. Lu Ming, I'm too lazy to waste my breath on you. The throne of the Eastern Sky Divine Guards is not for you. You're not qualified. Now, give it to me or you'll only humiliate yourself." The young man shouted as soon as he saw Lu Ming. "Buzz! Buzz!" Earlier, the young man had shouted so loudly that he had long alarmed the other Ditian Divine Guards on the mountain peak. At this moment, one figure after another flew out from the courtyards and stood in the air, looking over. It's Kaigo! Kaigo is finally going to challenge Lu Ming. Kaigo is a half-step void god realm. He was defeated in the battle of the Nantian Divine Guards. His combat strength is extremely terrifying. Lu Ming is in danger. This time, there were not many masters in the east, not even a half-step king. Lu Ming was only able to get the throne of the Eastern Sky Divine Guards by pure luck. That's right. The 4 Divine Guards are for the capable. It's only right for Kaigo to challenge him and take the throne of the Eastern Sky Divine Guards. The surrounding Ditian Divine Guards discussed animatedly. Qiu Changkong, Zhang Sheng also appeared in the crowd. After more than a month, their injuries had healed, and they were gloating at the misfortune they had caused. Lu Ming, so what if you've taken over the Eastern Sky Divine Guards? Wouldn't it still be snatched away? Ha! Qiu Changkong laughed in his heart. I didn't expect the other 3 directions to be so powerful. It's a good thing I didn't get the Eastern Sky Divine Guards. Otherwise, it would be taken away before I could even get a seat. Ha! Zhang Sheng was also laughing coldly. Who are you? Lu Ming naturally heard the others' discussion. He asked on purpose. My name is Kaigo. Lu Ming, I advise you to quit the Eastern Sky Divine Guards on your own. Kaigo said. As expected, you're a good dog. I say, you came to my place just for such a small matter? Lu Ming pursed his lips. The others looked at each other. Kaigo's eyes turned red, and a cold, killing intent burst out. His face was twisted as he roared, Lu Ming, you little bastard, what did you say? You're looking for death, you're looking for death. I was going to let you go, but now, you're dead. Lu Ming actually dared to call him a dog in public. He deserved to die. You're just a dog. Don't bark so loudly. You just want to challenge me, don't you? Fine, I agree to fight with you. Tomorrow morning, we'll fight on the Divine Guard battle platform. Lu Ming said loudly. His voice was clear and loud, and it spread far and wide. Everyone was stunned. They did not expect Lu Ming to agree so easily. Kaigo was also stunned for a moment. Then he revealed a cold and vicious smile and said, All right, little bastard, I'll let you live for one more day. Then get lost, you dog. Lu Ming said indifferently. You win. Kaigo gritted his teeth so hard that he almost suffered internal injuries. Now you're going to talk. Tomorrow I'll make you cry. Kaigo gritted his teeth and turned to leave. Chapter 441. 441 The contest between momentum and intent. The others discussed animatedly and turned to leave. Lu Ming, how dare you offend Kaigo like this? It's really unwise. It seems like I don't have to do anything. You're going to die in Kaigo's hands. Qiu Changkong laughed coldly before turning to leave as well. After that, the news of the battle between Lu Ming and Kaigo spread like wildfire. Lu Ming turned around and entered the Eastern Sky courtyard. He began to meditate and regulate his breathing. The sun set and rose again, and a day had passed. The Divine Guard battle stage was built on a mountain peak. The peak of this mountain was relatively wide and flat, and there was a battle stage that was 10 miles wide and wide. As the name suggested, this was for duels between Ditian Divine Guards. The fighting ring was made of black metal and was covered with inscriptions. Even a low-tier king wouldn't be able to break it. On the Divine Guard battle platform, Life and death were not to be disregarded. Early in the morning, the Divine Guard's battle stage was already surrounded by people. There were at least 10,000 of them. This time, there were about 6,000 to 7,000 new Detian Divine Guards in the entire eastern region of the Tianxian region. It could be said that other than those who were in closed-door cultivation or had important matters to attend to, the majority of them had come. In fact, some of the previous Detian Divine Guards had also come to the scene after receiving the news. After all, it was related to the succession of the Eastern Sky Divine Guards, so it naturally received attention. Whoosh! A figure flew through the air and landed on the Divine Guard fighting ring. Kaigo has arrived! Someone shouted. The moment Kaigo landed on the fighting ring, he crossed his arms and closed his eyes to rest. Buzz! Not long after, another figure appeared on the fighting ring. Lu Ming is here too. I didn't expect him to really dare to come. There's nothing we can do if he doesn't come. The Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace has a rule that the 4 Heavens Divine Guards can be obtained by challenging others, and they can't avoid the battle. If he doesn't come and avoids the battle, the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace will also strip him of his position as the Eastern Heavens Divine Guard. Lu Ming's arrival caused a heated discussion. Kaigo opened his eyes as well, and a thick killing intent burst out from his eyes. He said coldly, Lu Ming, if you have any last words, leave them behind. You won't have the chance later. This sentence is exactly what I wanted to say to you. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Hee, is that so? I hope you won't regret it when the time comes. Kaigo laughed coldly. Buzz! At that moment, a middle-aged man appeared on the fighting ring. Half a time is related to the succession of the Eastern Sky Divine Guards. I'll be the witness. The winner will be the Eastern Sky Divine Guards. What else do you have to say? The middle-aged man shouted. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. Lu Ming and Kaigo shook their heads. With the middle-aged man's announcement, the atmosphere became even more lively. Who do you guys think will win? Does Lu Ming have a chance to win? Impossible? I don't deny that Lu Ming's talent is indeed terrifying, but his cultivation level is too low. When he took over the East Sky Divine Guards, he was only at the peak of the 8th level Martial Grandmaster realm. Only a month has passed since then. Even if he breaks through to the 9th level Martial Grandmaster realm, or even the peak of the 9th level Martial Grandmaster realm, he can't possibly be Kaigo's match. Moreover, it's impossible to break through from the peak of the 8th level Martial Grandmaster realm to the peak of the 9th level Martial Grandmaster realm in a month. A half-step king is much stronger than a peak 9th grade Martial Ancestor realm. He's 2 whole levels stronger. Moreover, Kaigo himself is an expert between level 4 and level 5. Adding them up, Kaigo is more than 6 levels stronger than an average peak 9th grade Martial Ancestor realm. Lu Ming can't possibly be his match. For a genius like Kaigo, when he's at the half-step king realm, unless it's a battle at the same cultivation level, no one can beat him. In that case, Lu Ming doesn't stand a chance? Lu Ming can't possibly win. The person who spoke the last sentence was a cold-looking young man in a golden robe. This person's words attracted countless gazes. This was because this person was another of the 4 Divine Guards, Jianghu of the Southern Divine Guard. Kaigo is not weak. Even if it's me, it won't be easy to defeat him. It's impossible for Lu Ming to defeat Kaigo. Jianghu said firmly. His cold expression was filled with confidence. Brother Zhong is right. Not far away, another beautiful woman laughed. This beautiful woman was the Northern Heaven Divine Guard of the 4 Divine Guards. Then, everyone's eyes turned to the other side. There was a young man in a white robe. He was as handsome as jade. The most peculiar thing about him was that there was a sword-shaped mark between his eyebrows, which made him look even more mysterious. There wasn't a single person beside him. They seemed to be afraid of this person and kept their distance. This man was the last of the 4 Divine Guards, the Divine Guard of the Western Paradise. At the same time, he was also known as the strongest person among the 4 Divine Guards. When he was fighting for the Western Kingdom Divine Guards, the other half-step king didn't even last 3 moves against him. This showed how terrifying he was. Everyone looked at him, wanting to hear his opinion, but he did not say a word. Boom. Boom. At this moment, 2 powerful auras shot up into the sky from the fighting ring. Lu Ming and Kai Go were about to take action. Lu Ming die. Kai Go shouted coldly as a long and thin green sword appeared in his hand. Buzz! The green long sword let out a soft cry and instantly crossed the distance of hundreds of meters, stabbing toward Lu Ming. The speed was so fast that many people present could not see the sword's trajectory clearly. Intent. It was obvious that Kai Go had already comprehended a trace of the concept of wind on the basis of wind force. Even if it was just a trace of the creation of wind, it was enough to make Kai Go's combat strength increase rapidly. Wind and fire. Lu Ming held the long spear in his hand and thrust it forward. On the long spear, the power of wind and fire was condensed to perfection. Ding! Ding! The tip of the spear and the tip of the sword collided. Boom! The violent genuine qi, the power of wind and fire, filled the entire fighting ring. Buzz! Buzz! The next moment, the 2 figures retreated rapidly, each retreating several miles, and then stood still. Everyone present was stunned and their eyes widened in shock. Lu Ming, he managed to block Kai Go's wind concept attack. How is that possible? Did you guys see that? Lu Ming's cultivation has already reached the peak of the 9th level of the martial ancestor realm. What a terrifying cultivation speed. That's not the main point. Both of them did not use any martial arts techniques just now. They were only testing the waters with their attacks. How could Lu Ming possibly block Kai Go's concept of wind? Force can actually block intent. How is this possible? The crowd was in a heated discussion and were extremely shocked. This is the power of wind and fire. At this moment, a clear and cold voice sounded. Everyone was shocked, because the person who spoke was actually the divine guard of the Western Paradise, Sheng Wushuang, who had not spoken before. Lu Ming has comprehended 2 types of impose. Furthermore, the 2 types of impose have been fused and have reached perfection. Sheng Wushuang said slowly. However, he did not sound serious. He was just stating a fact as if Lu Ming was not worthy of his attention. The fusion of wind and fire? No wonder, no wonder. This Lu Ming is also impressive. He actually comprehended 2 types of force and even fused them successfully. The most shocking thing is that he actually cultivated both to perfection. Many people were amazed. Chapter 442. 442 Chapter 442 Overbearing Killing. Many people were shocked. It was not easy to cultivate one type of shi to perfection, let alone 2. Moreover, he had successfully fused them. The difficulty of this wasn't just 2 times that of comprehending a type of shi, but rather an exponential increase. No wonder Lu Ming's combat strength is so terrifying. Someone exclaimed. It's hard to achieve great things by doing 2 things at the same time. Sheng Wushuang snorted coldly and said in disdain. Brother Sheng is right. Zhong Hao said with a smile. Oh woo! At this moment, a wolf-like howl was heard in the fighting ring. The aura on Kai Go's body grew stronger. A black dog with 2 heads appeared above his head. The double-headed demonic dog was an extremely powerful demonic beast. 6 Esilavir chakras were wrapped around the double-headed demonic dog. It's indeed a dog. Did I say anything wrong? Lu Ming pursed his lips. He was a little surprised. He did not expect that Kai Go's bloodline was really that of a dog. Little bastard, what are you talking about? I'm a 2-headed hellhound, go to hell. Kai Go bellowed as he activated his blood meridian. At the same time, his long sword trembled and the tip of the sword sliced through the air. Instantly, wind blades were formed and they were sent flying towards Lu Ming. Whoosh! Whoosh! There were at least a few dozen wind blades that were extremely sharp, even sharper than the blade ray. Only those who had comprehended a trace of wind concept would be able to execute it, and even a force at the perfection stage wouldn't be able to do so. This could be considered to be the preliminary control of the wind. Buzz! Lu Ming grabbed the end of the spear and shook it. Dozens of spear flowers appeared in the sky. Each of these spear flowers contained the power of wind and fire. Bang! Bang! After dozens of explosions, the wind blades and the spear flowers were destroyed. Heavenly Dog's sun-eating sword. Suddenly, Kai Go let out a long howl and thrust his long sword out. A strange phenomenon appeared in the sky. A sun appeared, followed by a huge yellow dog. It opened its mouth and swallowed the sun. With the sun in its mouth, it pounced at Lu Ming, exuding a terrifying aura. Whoa, the dog is biting. Lu Ming rushed to the sky and shouted, almost causing Kai Go's mouth to twist in anger. Bang! Bang! Then, Lu Ming took 2 consecutive steps. 9 dragons heaven trampling steps, 2 steps in a row. And NBSP, heaven and earth rumbled as a terrifying power exploded like a flood. The yellow dog's body trembled violently, and with a final wail, it exploded. Kai Go's figure could not help but fly backward. Heavens, what did I just see? Lu Ming actually managed to defeat Kai Go. How is that possible? It's indeed unbelievable. Lu Ming's combat strength is terrifyingly strong. However, Kai Go has yet to unleash his strongest combat strength. It's hard to predict the outcome. Look, Kai Go is about to go all out. Boom! At that moment, the aura on Kai Go's body had actually risen by another level. Rays of red light wrapped around his body. This secret technique was Kai Go's strongest state, and his combat power surpassed that of the top 4. Whoa, the yellow dog has transformed. Lu Ming shouted. The crowd was speechless. Kai Go was so angry that his chest swelled. The heavenly dog devours the sky. Kai Go let out a long howl and a terrifying sword gleam burst forth, condensing into a heavenly hound that pounced towards Lu Ming. This heavenly hound was formed from sword chi and could destroy everything. I'm too lazy to play with you. Let's end this, true dragon strike. Lu Ming exerted all his strength and thrust his spear. Groan! A dragon's roar was heard as a 2-colored true dragon flew out, exuding an aura that looked down on the world. The 2-colored true dragon and the heavenly hound collided. At this moment, the entire fighting ring shook violently, and the terrifying energy swept in all directions. Quickly retreat. Many people who were close to him retreated frantically. Anyone under the half-step king realm had to retreat 10 miles. Only the half-step kings didn't. Nest, isn't this too strong? Is this the battle power of someone below the king tier? A normal martial artist of the same level would be smashed into pieces in one move. He's too strong. He's the strongest genius of the eastern region of the Tianxian region. Who will win? Everyone's eyes were burning as they stared at the fighting ring. The 2-colored true dragon suddenly let out a loud roar. The heavenly hound let out a wail and collapsed. With a scream, Kai Go's body was sent flying like a cannonball, sliding several miles on the fighting ring. Buzz! Lu Ming took a step forward and charged towards Kai Go. His long spear was like a cold bolt of lightning, piercing towards Kai Go. Kai Go was shocked. He rolled on the ground more than 10 times and dodged Lu Ming's attack. Yellow dog rolling around. Not bad. Let's see how many moves you can dodge. Lu Ming took a step forward and violent energy blasted forward. Kai Go let out a blood-curdling screech as he was sent flying like a little chick, blood spurting from his mouth. I surrender, I admit defeat. Kai Go was afraid as he howled in shock. Admit defeat? I don't accept this. Lu Ming sneered. His gaze was extremely cold. The spear's gleam was as cold as ice. It pierced through the void and stabbed at Kai Go. This time, Kai Go could no longer avoid it. Poochie! The long spear pierced through Kai Go's chest, lifting him up into the air. I admit defeat. I beg you, let me go. Let me go. Kai-Go let out a shrill cry of pain. He felt that death was so close to him. As long as Lu Ming's essential qi exploded, he would be dead for sure. He was afraid. He was afraid to death. As long as he thought of the great future leaving him, he would be so afraid that his whole body would tremble. Let you go? Did you ever think about letting me go when you tried to take my Eastern Sky Divine Guards away? If I'm not strong enough and lose to you, will you ever let me go? Lu Ming's voice was extremely cold as he asked 2 questions in a row. I was wrong. I failed to recognize MT Tai. I failed to see. You are the true God's favored son. I am dog shit. Yes, I am dog shit. I beg you, please let me live. Kai-Go begged pitifully. In order to live, he could not care about anything else. It's too late to talk about this now. Let's go. Lu Ming was unmoved and said coldly. This time, he would not let Kai-Go off. He wanted to intimidate the others with his thunderous timing and tell them that he, Lu Ming, was not a pushover. On the contrary, he was a murderous soldier, a murderous soldier. I'm not afraid, I'm not afraid. Kai-Go screamed madly and struggled madly. Buzz! Lu Ming shook his long spear and his essential qi exploded. Kai-Go's heart exploded in an instant. Kai-Go howled and stopped breathing. Hiss hiss hiss. Everyone in the audience gasped. Lu Ming had won. Half-step King Kai-Go had been killed. Before this, no one would have thought of such an ending. Almost everyone thought that Kai-Go would definitely be able to crush Lu Ming and seize the throne of the Eastern Sky Divine Guards. He had never expected that the result would be the complete opposite. In the end, Lu Ming overpowered Kai-Go and killed him. Some of the people who were certain that Lu Ming would be defeated felt their faces burning. This was especially so for Jianghu. He had even said that even he would have to put in a lot of effort to defeat Kai-Go and that Lu Ming was definitely not Kai-Go's match. He had a very proud look on his face. However, the reality was that Lu Ming had crushed Kai-Go. This was equivalent to saying that Lu Ming was stronger than him. He felt that he had been slapped by Lu Ming and his face was burning. Chapter 443. 443 Divine Guard of the Western Paradise, Sheng Wushuang. Detestable. Jianghu growled in his heart, extremely displeased. However, when he looked at Lu Ming, his expression was full of solemnity. Kai-Go was at the half-step king realm, 2 levels higher than a normal peak 9th level martial ancestor realm. At the same time, he was a genius who was ranked between level 4 and level 5. His combat strength was more than 6 levels higher than an ordinary martial arts grandmaster 9th level peak. Lu Ming, with his cultivation at the peak of the 9th level martial arts grandmaster realm, was actually able to win. This was simply unbelievable. Could it be that Lu Ming's combat strength had reached level 7? At the thought of this, everyone sucked in a cold breath, their eyes revealing an expression of disbelief. A genius after 7 battles? How was this possible? Was there such a genius in the eastern region of the Tianxian region? Even the previous batch of Ditian Divine Guards looked at Lu Ming with grave gazes. How could this be? How did this happen? In the crowd, Zhang Xing and Qiu Changkong's faces were ashen. Their eyes were wide open, unable to accept what was happening. It had only been slightly more than a month, and Lu Ming had become so powerful. Now, even if the 2 of them joined forces, Lu Ming could kill them in one move. No, I must think of a way to get rid of Lu Ming. This guy is too terrifying. If this goes on, I'll be the one who dies. Qiu Changkong's eyes glowed with a sinister light. Buzz! On the fighting ring, Lu Ming swung his spear and threw Kai-Go's corpse away. At the same time, he sucked in his essential qi and Kai-Go's storage ring was sucked into Lu Ming's hand. As for Kai-Go's blood essence, there were too many people at the scene. Lu Ming did not devour it. Who? As Kai-Go's corpse fell to the ground, everyone heaved a long sigh of relief. I hereby announce that Kai-Go has failed his challenge. The Eastern Sky Divine Guard is still Lu Ming. The middle-aged man announced. Lu Ming smiled faintly and was about to turn and leave. Lu Ming, you're not bad. At this moment, a clear and cold voice sounded. Lu Ming was stunned and looked in the direction of the voice. A young man with a sword-shaped mark between his eyebrows was walking in the air, step by step, towards the fighting ring. Sheng Wushuang, it's Sheng Wushuang. What is he doing on the fighting ring? Could it be that he is excited and wants to challenge Lu Ming? No way. If that's the case, there'll be a good show to watch today. This young man was none other than the divine guard of the Western Paradise, who was known as the most powerful genius of this batch, Sheng Wushuang. Sheng Wushuang stepped into the fighting ring and stood 100 meters in front of Lu Ming. Lu Ming, you're not bad. You're worthy of being my opponent now. Sheng Wushuang was handsome and had his hands behind his back. The surrounding young women looked at Sheng Wushuang with shining eyes. Oh. Lu Ming was a little surprised. Oh, he said. To be honest, he had never heard of Sheng Wushuang. However, you're only worthy of being my opponent now. In the future, you might not be. Lu Ming, let me tell you, you've already taken the wrong path. Sheng Wushuang continued. He had his hands behind his back, as if he was an elder giving advice to a junior. What? Lu Ming was stunned. Was there something wrong with this brother's brain? He felt too good about himself. On what basis did he say that he had taken the wrong path? The others were stunned, and only a few of them had thoughtful expressions. Haven't you realized it yourself? You've comprehended two types of forces at the same time. Although it's a great boost to your combat power, a person's energy is limited. It takes a lifetime to comprehend one type of force and one type of essence realm of heaven and earth, but you've comprehended two at the same time. In the short term, you might seem powerful, but it's actually an extremely stupid move. In the future, even if you can break through to the martial king realm, your achievements will be limited. That's why I said that you can be my opponent now, but in the future, the gap between you and me will only grow further and further. You will never be able to catch up with me. Sheng Wushuang continued with great confidence. That's right. Sheng Wushuang is right. Comprehending two types of force will greatly increase your strength in the short term. However, it will definitely affect your cultivation in the future. The people around them felt that what Sheng Wushuang said made sense. However, Lu Ming was speechless. Moreover, Sheng Wushuang's attitude really pissed Lu Ming off. Hence, Lu Ming glanced at him indifferently and said, "Who the hell are you? You have your own path, I have mine, I don't need you to tell me. Moreover, for someone like you, surpassing you is just a matter of minutes." Lu Ming waved his hands casually. "You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. You've gone astray and even tried to surpass me. What a joke. I'm kind enough to give you advice, but you don't appreciate it. Fine, I'll just let you live and die on your own." Sheng Wushuang snorted and left with his hands behind his back. Is there something wrong with this guy's brain? Who does he think he is? He looks like the #1 expert in the world. How laughable. Lu Ming muttered. He then rose into the air and left the place. Of course, this battle could not help but become the topic of discussion for others. However, no one dared to look down on Lu Ming anymore. Lu Ming had used his own strength to prove that he deserved to be the Eastern Sky Divine Guard. Moreover, what Sheng Wushuang said had spread. Most of the people agreed with Sheng Wushuang. There was a limit to how much energy a person could put into comprehending two types of Shi at the same time. If Lu Ming did not correct his mistakes, his future achievements would be limited. After Lu Ming returned to the Eastern Sky Courtyard, he continued to comprehend the force of wind and fire. Naturally, he would not give up on cultivating the wind-fire force just because of what Sheng Wushuang said. Ever since he had comprehended the wind and fire force and fused them, the wind and fire force had been of great help to Lu Ming. Moreover, the Dragon God's three absolutes wasn't just a single force or intent realm that could unleash its power. Therefore, he had to cultivate the wind and fire forces together. Moreover, Lu Ming had another ambition. He wanted to comprehend the force of lightning and combine wind, fire, and lightning to cultivate the Dragon God's three absolutes to the highest realm. Time slowly passed. On another mountain peak, In a courtyard, Qiu Changkong and a young man in purple were sitting opposite each other. Damn it. How can that bastard Lu Ming be so powerful? How can his cultivation level improve so quickly? Damn it. Qiu Changkong roared in anger. Junior brother, don't be impatient. In my opinion, Lu Ming must have had some fortuitous encounter or he has some treasure on him. The young man in purple picked up a cup of wine, took a sip and smiled. If Lu Ming was here, he would definitely be able to recognize that this young man was the one who had sent the invitation letter to the Blazing Sun Empire. Senior brother, what should we do now? Why don't we ask Master to come forward and find a reason to execute Lu Ming? Qiu Changkong's eyes glowed with a cold light. Silly. Master, although you're the master of the Thunder Hall, one of the 9 halls, Lu Ming is the Eastern Sky Divine Guard this time. He's under the attention of the other hall masters. If you attack Lu Ming, you'll definitely upset the hall masters. It might even alarm the palace master. At that time, you'll find it hard to explain and you'll be punished. I can't just watch Lu Ming improve continuously. I'm afraid that it will be difficult to suppress him when he grows up. Qiu Changkong asked anxiously. Chapter 444. 444 The Hall Master's Lesson. Junior brother is right. We can't let Lu Ming live. Master can't do it, but we can. However, even if I do it now, I'm not 100% confident. The young man in purple muttered to himself. Then what should we do? Why don't we invite the other senior brothers? Qiu Changkong replied. As for the other 2 senior brothers, one of them is traveling outside, and the other is in seclusion. Junior brother, don't worry. My cultivation has already reached the Great Circle realm, and I'll be going into seclusion to break through to the Martial King realm soon. When I break through to the Martial King realm, I can kill Lu Ming with a flip of my hand. The young man in purple said with a smile. Senior brother is about to break through to the Martial King realm? Qiu Changkong was ecstatic. That's right. I've been stuck at the half-step king realm for many years. Now that I've reached my limit, it's time to break through to the Martial King realm. The purple-robed youth said. How confident are you, senior brother? 80%. The young man in purple was very confident. Ah, that's good. Let Lu Ming live for a little longer. When senior brother breaks through to the Martial King realm, it will be the time of Lu Ming's death. Qiu Changkong was ecstatic. No matter how strong Lu Ming was, he was no match for a Martial King. As long as the young man in purple broke through to the Martial King realm and came out of his closed-door cultivation, he could simply find an excuse to challenge Lu Ming, and Lu Ming would be dead meat. Lu Ming, you can be arrogant all you want, but you won't be able to be arrogant for long. Qiu Changkong coldly laughed. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. Lu Ming was comprehending the power of wind and fire every day. But the progress was very small. And NBSP, after force reached perfection, it was extremely difficult to comprehend intent from it. Many people would be stuck at this step for their entire lives, unable to make any progress. Today, the Palace Master of the Wind Palace will hold a lecture and personally explain the force and concept of wind. We can't miss this. Lu Ming stood up and left the courtyard, flying towards the Wind Palace. Every once in a while, the 9 hall masters of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace would personally give lessons and explain the force and intent realm of the related attributes. It would attract a large number of Ditian Divine Guards to attend the lecture. When Lu Ming arrived at the entrance of the Wind Palace, he noticed that there were other figures flying in his direction from other directions. There was no one checking at the main entrance. Those who wanted to go in to listen could just go in directly. Lu Ming walked into the Wind Palace and arrived at a large hall. The main hall was extremely spacious. The floor of the main hall was filled with prayer mats. There were at least tens of thousands of them. At this moment, there were already over 1,000 people sitting cross-legged on the futon. Lu Ming's entrance attracted many people's attention. Lu Ming ignored him. He found a futon at random and sat down. He closed his eyes and waited. As time passed, the number of people increased. Very quickly, it broke through 2,000 people. The majority of them were the Ditian Divine Guards who had just joined this year, while a portion of them were from the previous batch. Palace Master Feng is here. Someone whispered. Lu Ming opened his eyes and saw an old man in a green robe with a beautiful beard walking toward him. The old man looked to be in his 60s and had a faint smile on his face. There was no trace of true essence fluctuation or powerful aura on his body. Just like an ordinary person. However, no one dared to show the slightest bit of contempt or disrespect. It was said that the 9 palace masters were all upper-tier kings. Furthermore, he wasn't an ordinary late-stage king tier. His strength was extremely terrifying. Greetings, Palace Master Feng. More than 2,000 people stood up and bowed. No need to be so polite, please sit. Palace Master Feng smiled and waved his hand. Everyone took their seats. Palace Master Feng also sat cross-legged on the high platform above the main hall. Today, all the people who have come are below the Martial King realm and have comprehended the wind force. I'll explain in detail how to comprehend a trace of wind concept from the wind force, and then how to use this trace of wind concept to finally condense an intent rune and pass the test of the heavenly tribulation to reach the Martial King realm. Palace Master Feng's voice rang out. Everyone's spirits were lifted. They had come here to hear this. To know all this, you must first clearly understand what force is. What is the intent realm? Palace Master Feng's voice continued to ring out. Momentum is actually a type of intent realm of the heaven and earth. However, it is a very superficial way of borrowing it. This is because every attribute will have momentum. Like water, when it's gentle, it can nourish all things. This is also a kind of power of water. When it's violent, it can destroy the earth. This is also a kind of power of water. Like the wind. When it's gentle, it's like a clear wind. When it's violent, it can tear everything apart. These are all the forces of the wind. When you comprehend force, you're actually just borrowing the intent realm of heaven and earth. It's commonly known as borrowing force. Borrowing force can increase your own attack power, defense power, and so on. As he said this, a powerful aura burst out from Palace Master Feng's body. His aura suddenly became as majestic, heavy, and unattainable as an ancient divine mountain. The next moment, his aura disappeared without a trace. However, the essence realm of the heaven and earth is completely different from momentum. The essence realm of the heaven and earth is control. Control an attribute and use it to create all kinds of mysterious means. After saying that, Palace Master Feng suddenly stretched out his palm. In his palm, there was a tornado that was spinning rapidly. Although the tornado was small, Lu Ming could hear a terrifying whistling sound. Lu Ming had no doubt that as long as Palace Master Feng threw out this tornado, it would definitely be able to tear apart a mountain. Then, Palace Master Feng moved his hand and the tornado disappeared. A blade of wind appeared on his finger. The blade of wind was like a blade, cutting through the space and causing the space to ripple like water. One could see how terrifying this wind blade was. Of course, there are strong and weak when it comes to controlling an attribute. According to the degree of control, the essence realm of heaven and earth can be divided into many levels. Generally speaking, a martial king can only control a level 1 essence realm of heaven and earth. Palace Master Feng explained the momentum of the wind and the creation of wind. Sometimes he would even practice it himself. Lu Ming listened attentively, for fear of missing every word and action. All this while, Lu Ming had been comprehending and cultivating on his own. When did such an expert explain and practice in person? At this moment, Lu Ming's eyes lit up as he listened. Many of the questions that had troubled him for a long time were answered one by one. Lu Ming felt more and more relaxed. His mind was becoming more and more active. He felt extremely carefree. He felt that his understanding of wind force had increased by a large margin. The Wind Palace Master's speech went on for 3 hours. All right, today's lecture ends here. Go back and comprehend it well. You're all dismissed. Palace Master Feng said. Many people revealed reluctant expressions. They simply wanted to continue listening. Lu Ming was the same. At this moment, Palace Master Feng's gaze swept toward Lu Ming and he said, Lu Ming, wait a moment. Lu Ming was slightly stunned. He did not know why Palace Master Feng had stopped him. The rest of the people around them looked at Lu Ming one after another, their eyes glimmering with curiosity. Chapter 445. 445 Advancing to Half-Step King. I've heard that most of the past 4 divine guards were chosen by the 9 Hall Masters and accepted as their personal disciples. Could it be that Hall Master Feng has taken a fancy to Lu Ming and wants to take him as his disciple? It's highly possible. Lu Ming has such cultivation and combat strength at such a young age. It's normal for him to be favored by Palace Master Feng. I'm so envious. It would be great if I had such a master. Stop dreaming, let's go. The surrounding people discussed in hushed voices as they speculated. Soon, everyone had left, leaving only Lu Ming and the Wind Palace Master. Lu Ming came before Palace Master Feng and saluted him with cupped fists. He said, I wonder why the Hall Master has asked Lu Ming to stay behind? Sit down first. Palace Master Feng smiled and raised his hand. Lu Ming nodded and sat cross-legged on a futon beside Palace Master Feng. Lu Ming, are you 20 years old this year? Palace Master Feng asked. Not even 20 years old, I'm still a little short. Lu Ming answered. You're not even 20 years old yet, but you already have such cultivation and combat strength. It's really commendable. Your future is limitless. Palace Master Feng sighed. Lu Ming's expression changed, but he did not reply. I've heard about your battle with Kai Go and what Xing Wushuang said a few days ago. Even though Xing Wushuang's words are too absolute, it's not without reason. There's a limit to one's energy. Cultivating 2 wills at the same time can increase one's combat strength in a short period of time. However, in the future, especially after reaching the Martial King realm, the comprehension of the heaven and earth will be crucial. If you don't break through your will, it'll be difficult for you to break through your cultivation. This will greatly affect your cultivation. Lu Ming, I have the intention to take you as my disciple, as long as you promise to focus on cultivating the concept of wind in the future. Palace Master Feng said everything in one breath. He looked at Lu Ming with anticipation. Lu Ming frowned slightly. To be honest, he was also very tempted to take Palace Master Feng as his master. This way, he would be able to avoid many detours in his comprehension of the creation of wind. But to ask him to give up on cultivating the force of fire, this was something he absolutely couldn't do. The force of fire was the force he had comprehended the earliest. It wasn't something he could give up on just because he said so. After pondering for a moment, Lu Ming cupped his fists and said, Lu Ming, thank you for your favor, Hall Master Feng. However, I have decided to cultivate both wind and fire. I will not give up on any of them. I'm afraid I will have to let you down, Hall Master Feng. By saying that, it was equivalent to rejecting Palace Master Feng. You win. Palace Master Feng's expression changed. Lu Ming, I'm doing this for your own good. Please reconsider. Thank you, Palace Master Feng. I have made up my mind. Lu Ming said. You're really stubborn. Go quickly or this old man will be annoyed. Palace Master Feng waved his hand and said. He had an expression of disappointment. Lu Ming stood up, bowed, and strode away. Sigh, I'm still too young and too confident in myself. After suffering and hitting a wall, I only know how to regret it. Palace Master Feng sighed. After Lu Ming returned to the courtyard, he sat down with his legs crossed. The contents of Hall Master Feng's explanation kept flashing through his mind, constantly corroborating with what he had comprehended. Lu Ming's understanding of the wind deepened. However, it was unknown how far he was from being able to comprehend a trace of wind concept. After that, Lu Ming spent another 1,000 top-grade spirit crystals and entered the Tao Enlightenment Palace to cultivate for 10 days. However, he still had not touched the threshold of the intent realm. It seems like I can only use intent crystals. Lu Ming pondered. In the ancient battlefield of the Netherworld, Lu Ming had obtained a total of 29 ultimacy crystals. Among them, there were 4 pieces of wind attribute, 5 pieces of fire attribute, 3 pieces of thunder attribute, and the rest were of other attributes, such as gold and water attributes. Lu Ming muttered to himself for a moment. Then he went to the mystical treasure house and exchanged all the other attribute profound meaning crystals for wind attribute profound meaning crystals. Of course, the exchange fee was 1,000 supreme spiritual crystals. Lu Ming only had 45,000 pieces of top-grade spiritual crystals left. Lu Ming had a total of 21 pieces of wind attribute profound meaning crystals. As for the fire type and thunder type ultimacy crystals, Lu Ming did not exchange for them as he would definitely need them later. In the courtyard of the Eastern Sky Courtyard, Lu Ming sat cross-legged and a green crystal appeared in his hand. Gotcha! Lu Ming clenched his fist and the crystal was crushed. At once, waves of mysterious wind concept spread out and enveloped Lu Ming. This concept of wind was actually in the shape of a thread, but it was a few hundred times thinner than a strand of hair. However, when Lu Ming comprehended it, he felt that it was many times clearer than when he was in the Tao Enlightenment Palace. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He focused all his attention on capturing the fine threads of the concept of wind that was spreading around his body and started to comprehend it. As expected of an esoteric crystal, a treasure that even martial kings drooled over, Lu Ming's comprehension of the concept of wind had greatly accelerated. Between heaven and earth, there were wisps of the essence realm of heaven and earth that were absorbed by Lu Ming and entered his body. Intent crystals were the physical embodiment of the intent realm of heaven and earth, and they had been formed over countless years. Every wisp he absorbed would be able to speed up his comprehension of the concept of wind. However, even more intent realm threads dissipated in the air. He didn't have time to absorb them. If this scene was seen by others, they would probably be so jealous that they would vomit blood. A waste, this was a complete waste. A single intent crystal had caused most of the intent realm threads to dissipate. This was simply a waste of God's gifts. One had to know that even half-step kings rarely used intent crystals to cultivate. That was because it was too wasteful. One of them would cost at least 1,000 supreme spiritual crystals. Only martial kings who used intent crystals to cultivate would not waste them. They could absorb all the intent threads. However, Lu Ming could not care so much. In his opinion, it would be a waste if he did not convert the resources into strength as soon as possible and left them there. Only by improving his strength could he obtain more resources and treasures. An hour later, the intent realm tendrils of an intent crystal had completely disappeared. Again! Lu Ming took out another wind-type esoteric crystal and crushed it. Gotcha! Gotcha! Subsequently, a cracking sound would be heard in Lu Ming's courtyard every hour. Tulivir hours later, Lu Ming had already used up Tulivir pieces of wind-type esoteric crystals. At this moment, Lu Ming's eyes grew brighter and brighter. Circles of green energy swirled around his body. The force of the wind on Lu Ming's body was raised to its maximum. At this moment whoosh! Lu Ming waved his hand and a green wind blade flew out from his fingers, cutting a stone block into two. Wind concept. I've finally comprehended a trace of wind concept. Lu Ming revealed a look of wild joy. From force to intent, there was only a single step away, but the difference was like heaven and earth. This was a fundamental difference, the difference between rotten wood and steel. The fact that he had comprehended a trace of the concept meant that Lu Ming was already half a step into the realm of a king. Lu Ming's cultivation had already reached the peak of the 9th grade martial ancestor realm. He could now be considered a true half-step king. After spending Tulivir esoteric crystals, Lu Ming finally made a breakthrough in one go. Chapter 446. 446 Oppression. Although he had only comprehended a trace of the intent realm of heaven and earth and was still far from condensing an intent rune, it was already a great improvement. I still have 9 wind attribute intent crystals left. I might as well use all of them to deepen my understanding of wind intent. Lu Ming had an idea. He continued to take out wind-type ultimacy crystals, crushed them, and started cultivating. This time, there were even more tendrils of profound meaning that were absorbed by Lu Ming. The amount he absorbed was several times more than before. And NBSP, he had comprehended a sliver of intent realm of heaven and earth, and his intent realm absorption of intent realm crystals had also become stronger. Lu Ming's comprehension of the concept of wind was also slowly deepening. Lu Ming only ended his cultivation when he used up the last 9 pieces of wind attribute profound meaning crystals. Now, I can put aside the wind mentality for a while and start to comprehend the fire mentality. Also, I need to find time to start comprehending the thunder force. In 2 days, the Fire Palace Master will be conducting a lecture. I can't miss it. Lu Ming pondered and continued cultivating. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. Lu Ming headed to the Fire Palace. Just like the Wind Palace, there were a lot of people here, almost 2,000. The layout of the Palace of Fire was very similar to that of the Palace of Wind. The main hall was filled with prayer mats. Lu Ming walked in and sat down on a futon at random. That's Lu Ming. He really came to the Palace of Fire. He really wants to cultivate wind and fire at the same time. He's really overestimating himself. I heard that a while ago, the Wind Palace Master wanted to take him as a disciple, and the condition was that he had to specialize in wind concept. He actually rejected it. I've also heard of this matter. He's really too arrogant. Just because he has a little bit of achievement, he's already acting so high and mighty. He doesn't even listen to the opinion of the Hall Master. I think Xing Wushuang is right. The distance between him and Xing Wushuang will only grow further and further. The other Ditian divine guards in the surroundings glanced at Lu Ming from time to time as they mumbled and discussed in low voices. Lu Ming shook his head after hearing that. He could not be bothered. Walk your own path and let others say it. He firmly believed that he would use his actions to shut these people up. Very quickly, the Palace Master of Fire arrived. The Palace Master of Fire was a tall old man. He wore a fiery red robe and had a powerful aura. After he arrived, he swept his gaze across the room and paused for a moment on Lu Ming. He did not say much and began to explain. Lu Ming listened attentively. 3 hours later, the explanation ended. Lu Ming felt that he had learned a lot. After returning to the courtyard, Lu Ming began to cultivate non-stop. The next day, Lu Ming used up all 5 pieces of fire-type esoteric crystals. However, it was a pity that he was still a little short. Lu Ming did not comprehend a trace of the concept of fire. I still have one more chance to enter the 100 deities slope. I might as well put aside the wind-fire concept for now and start to comprehend the force of thunder. When the force of thunder is a little mature, I will enter the 100 deities slope and maximize the use of this precious spot. Moreover, the Thunder Palace Master is going to give a lecture tomorrow. I'll go and listen. Lu Ming pondered. The next day, Lu Ming headed to the Lightning Palace. When Lu Ming walked into the Thunder Palace, he immediately caused a commotion. That's Lu Ming. What is he doing here? Could it be that he still wants to comprehend lightning force? Crazy, I think he's crazy. Not only is he cultivating the force of wind and fire, he's also trying to comprehend the force of thunder. He's really delusional. He's so stubborn. I don't think he can even break through to the Martial King realm. The others were all discussing excitedly. Brother Lu, you've really exceeded my expectations. A figure sat down beside Lu Ming. Brother Xiao, Lu Ming said. This young man was Xiao Haoyu, who had been saved by Lu Ming in the Eastern Nether ancient battlefield. Brother Lu, I don't know what to say. Xiao Haoyu sighed. Lu Ming smiled faintly. He could not be bothered with what others were saying. He waited quietly. After a while, An old man in a green robe walked up to the higher part of the hall and sat down cross-legged. Then he looked around with lightning-like eyes. When his gaze fell on Lu Ming, he was a little surprised. Then, a cold glint flashed across his eyes as he shouted coldly, "Lu Ming, what are you doing here at the Lightning Palace? Get out." The entire place fell silent. Lu Ming furrowed his eyebrows. What was with this Thunder Palace master? Even if he did not agree to Lu Ming cultivating the thunder concept, he should not have berated him and asked him to get lost. Lu Ming stood up and cupped his fists. "Hall Master Lei, I'm only here to listen to the class. There's no rule in the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace that forbids me from listening to the class." Listen to class? Ridiculous. Who doesn't know that you're arrogant and overconfident? You want to cultivate the wind and fire essences together. What's more ridiculous is that you came to the Thunder Hall to listen to the Thunder Essence. You still want to comprehend the Thunder mentality? What a joke. Our Thunder Hall doesn't welcome arrogant people like you. Thunder Palace Master waved his sleeve and shouted. Lu Ming's brows furrowed even more. "Lu Ming, I heard that the master of the Thunder Temple is Qiu Changkong's master." Xiao Haoyu's soft voice rang in her ears. Lu Ming raised his eyebrows and came to a sudden realization. Lu Ming finally knew who the mysterious master behind Qiu Changkong was. He knew who the big shot of the Empyrean Divine Palace was. It was actually the Thunder Palace Master, one of the 9 Palace Masters. It was no wonder that the master of the Thunder Palace had scolded Lu Ming as soon as he saw him. Lu Ming had found it strange at first, but everything made sense now. Hee. Lu Ming's expression turned cold. "Hall Master Lei, am I being too arrogant? It doesn't seem to matter how many different types of intent realms I've cultivated. Furthermore, there are many experts in the world who have become unrivaled by cultivating multiple intent realms at the same time. What makes you think that I can't do it? How dare you? What kind of attitude is this? How dare you speak to me like that?" The Thunder Palace Master shouted coldly and stood up suddenly. An unbelievably powerful aura burst out. It was as deep as the ocean and it was impossible to predict. Bolts of lightning flashed on Hall Master Lei's body. His terrifying aura pressed down on Lu Ming. Roar! Lu Ming suddenly let out a long howl. The 9 dragons' bloodline burst out, and dragon roars were heard. A spear's gleam burst out to resist the aura. However, Lu Ming felt as if there was an archaic divine mountain weighing hundreds of millions of pounds pressing down on his head. The spear's radiance collapsed instantly, and a terrifying pressure pressed down on Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's body seemed to be groaning and his bones were creaking. Bang! Lu Ming almost knelt down. He shouted and exerted force on his waist. He supported himself with his hands on the ground and barely managed to stay on his knees. "Lu Ming, who are you? You also dare to compare yourself with those unparalleled experts who have dominated the world. Those experts can cultivate several intent realms at the same time because they have that kind of talent. Do you have it?" Thunder Palace Master shouted coldly. "I've already said that it's my own business as to how many intent realms I want to cultivate. It has nothing to do with you. Old fellow, do you feel that you've lost face after your disciple Qiu Changkong was defeated by me? As the Palace Master of the Thunder Palace, you actually dare to attack me because of your own disciple's incapability. Aren't you ashamed of bullying the weak? I will report this matter to the Palace Master." Lu Ming roared. Chapter 447. 447. Sooner or later, I'll pay you back 10 times over. Lu Ming roared. He was going all out. And with so many people watching, he didn't believe that the Thunder Palace Master would dare to do anything to him. Audacious! Impudent! Thunder Palace Master shouted angrily, and his aura became even stronger. Lu Ming tried his best to resist the aura of the Thunder Palace Master and shouted, "Old fellow, do you think that the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace is yours? There are rules set by Martial Emperor in the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace, and I have not broken any rules. You are abusing your power for personal gain and bullying the weak. Do you not respect martial emperor Di? Also, in the future, if anyone offends your disciples, or if you don't like the look of someone, you can bully and punish them at will. Lu Ming shouted loudly, directly putting two big hats on the head of the Thunder Palace master. As soon as he said this, the nearly 2,000 people present looked at Thunder Palace master with strange eyes. Lu Ming was not wrong. He did not break any rules. It was his own business to cultivate a few concepts. Even the Thunder Palace master did not have the authority to chase Lu Ming away, because it was the right of every Ditian Divine Guard to attend classes in the 9 halls. This was a rule set by De and Martial Emperor, and even the 9 palace masters could not violate it. Little bastard! Thunder Palace master's eyes turned gloomy. Lu Ming was not an ordinary Ditian Divine Guard. He was the Eastern Sky Divine Guard, and he had long attracted the attention of the other hall masters and even the palace masters. In front of so many people, he really did not dare to do anything to Lu Ming. Otherwise, he would not be able to explain himself. Stubborn and arrogant. If you don't repent, half-step king realm will be your limit. Now, get out of the Thunder Palace. Thunder Palace master retracted his aura and berated. Lu Ming straightened his body and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He had been injured just now. I will remember today's humiliation. One day, I will take it back 10 times. Lu Ming's eyes gleamed as he shouted. He then turned around and strode away. The others were shocked. Lu Ming was too bold. He actually dared to speak to the master of the Thunder Palace in such a manner. The master of Thunder Temple's eyes flashed with killing intent. In the end, he did not make a move and watched Lu Ming leave. Lu Ming has only achieved a little bit of success and he's blinded by it. He's overestimating himself. A person like him will never achieve anything great in his life. You must not learn from him. After Lu Ming left, the Thunder Palace master said to the others. Yes. A few scattered sounds were heard. This made Thunder Palace master very dissatisfied. He snorted coldly and began his lecture. Lu Ming walked out of the Lightning Palace and clenched his fists tightly as he turned to look at the Lightning Palace. Thunder Palace master, right now, you are stronger than me. I will bear with it. But sooner or later, I will make you kneel in front of me and kowtow to admit your mistakes. Moreover, I believe that this day will not be too far away. Lu Ming's eyes flickered with killing intent. Then he strode away. Now, he had to quickly cultivate his fire force to the fire concept. Then, he would focus on cultivating his thunder force. He had to break through to the Martial King realm as soon as possible. Only after reaching the Martial King realm would one have a certain right to speak. Those below the Martial King realm were all ants. Without strength, one could only be bullied by others. Only when one's own strength was strong could one control one's own fate. Lu Ming had long understood this principle and had been trying to put it into practice. Back at the Eastern Sky Courtyard, Lu Ming sat cross-legged. Since I can't attend the lecture, I'll forcefully use the intent crystal to comprehend lightning force first. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with madness. He then took out a lightning intent crystal and squeezed it. Gotcha! The lightning intent crystal exploded, releasing wisps of intent. However, Lu Ming had not even comprehended the lightning force yet. The number of intent tendrils that he could absorb was very little. It could be said that an entire esoteric crystal was a pure waste. However, the ultimacy crystal was no small matter. It was a treasure that even kings coveted. Even if he only absorbed a trace of it, it would be of great help to Lu Ming. Lu Ming closed his eyes tightly and devoted himself to his comprehension. The power of lightning is extremely terrifying. It represents extreme speed and destructive power. It even represents the might of the heavens. Under the might of the heavens, all living things will be dormant. All sorts of thoughts flashed past Lu Ming's mind as he continued to comprehend. In the blink of an eye, 2 hours had passed. Lu Ming opened his eyes. Just a little bit more. Following that, Lu Ming took out the second thunder-type esoteric crystal and crushed it without any hesitation. This time, he absorbed more intent threads than last time. An hour later. Buzz! Lu Ming suddenly opened his eyes and 2 bolts of lightning shot out. At the same time, a force erupted from his body. Force of lightning, elementary level of force of lightning. I've finally learned the basics of lightning force. Then I'll use the last piece of lightning intent crystal in one go. Following that, the 3rd thunder-type intent crystal was used by Lu Ming. So far, Lu Ming had used up all 29 pieces of intent crystals he had obtained from the ancient battlefield of the Netherworld. This time, he absorbed even more intent tendrils. Lu Ming's comprehension of the lightning force was greatly accelerated. After 2 hours, Lu Ming opened his eyes. His lightning force had directly reached the small success stage. He had used 3 pieces of thunder attribute profound meaning crystals. The total value was definitely more than 3 billion lower spiritual crystals. He had used such a terrifying amount of resources to cultivate the force of thunder to the small success stage. If others knew about this, they would be so angry that they would vomit blood and curse Lu Ming for being a wastrel. Now, I've already comprehended a little bit of the Wind mentality. Originally, I could use the Wind mentality to start refining my true Qi and slowly turn it into true essence. However, with the amount of Zhen Qi I have, I don't know how long it will take me to refine my Zhen Yuan with just one intent. I should wait for the fire and thunder to completely comprehend a bit of intent, and then combine the 3. Only then can I refine my Zhen Yuan faster. Furthermore, before I refine my true energy, I have to try my best to cultivate the true War Dragon technique to the highest realm of the 9th stage. Otherwise, once my true Qi turns into true energy, it will be at least 100 times more difficult to improve the true War Dragon technique. Lu Ming analyzed his own cultivation and the direction of his cultivation. Once the true War Dragon technique transformed true Qi into true essence, the difficulty of raising it would be extremely terrifying. Therefore, Lu Ming planned to upgrade the true dragon technique to the 9th level before his essential Qi was converted into essential core. Coincidentally, he had some dragon blood flowers and a piece of dragon bone. Lu Ming was a man of his word. With a wave of his hand, dragon blood flowers appeared one after another. Swallow! Lu Ming immediately picked up a dragon blood flower and swallowed it in one gulp. He began to circulate the true War Dragon technique and put all his effort into cultivating it. One after another, the dragon blood flowers were refined by Lu Ming. His true War Dragon technique was also improving rapidly. 2 days later, all the dragon blood flowers had been refined by Lu Ming. He then took out the dragon bone. According to speculation, it should be the dragon finger bone, which was obtained from the dragon's cave. Although countless years had passed, it still contained rich essence. With the help of the 9 dragons' bloodline, Lu Ming began to refine the dragon bone with all his might. The dragon-shaped genuine Qi in his body became more and more condensed and powerful. Chapter 448. 448 Foundation Establishment Chapter of the True War Dragon Technique. As for the dragon bone, it became smaller and smaller under the combined devouring of the 9 dragon bloodlines. This refining process took 7 days. Groan! Suddenly, the roars of dragons pierced through the clouds and shook the entire mountain. One figure after another was alarmed and flew up to the sky to look at the mountain peak. That's the eastern sky courtyard. It's Lu Ming. What the hell is he doing now? He's probably cultivating some kind of secret technique. On the path of martial arts, the intent realm of heaven and earth is more important the further you go. He only knows how to cultivate some unorthodox secret techniques. His combat power has indeed increased, but what's the use of that? That's right. He's already on the wrong path. Ignore him. Let's go, the old man said. After a round of discussion, these people were too lazy to pay attention to him and returned to their respective courtyards. At this moment, Lu Ming's cultivation had reached a critical moment. The true Qi in his body had been condensed to the extreme. It was completely made up of true dragons, and each true dragon swam in his meridians. Then, another dragon's roar came from the cyclone in his dantian. At this moment, the chi cyclone in his dantian had undergone a fundamental change. Originally, the chi cyclone was made up of pure true chi, but now it had become two true dragons. The two true dragons continued to circle around each other. On the side, small true dragons kept flying in and out. I've broken through to the 9th stage of the true war dragon technique. Lu Ming's eyes were bright and burning. After 10 days of cultivation, he had refined the dragon blood flower and the dragon bone. He had broken through 2 levels of the true war dragon technique, from the 7th to the 9th. Lu Ming's abilities had increased sharply again. Roar! At this moment, a true dragon flew out from his dantian and charged straight into his sea of consciousness. Boom! There was a rumbling explosion in his sea of consciousness. A message inexplicably appeared in Lu Ming's mind. True War Dragon Technique Foundation Establishment Chapter, Major Completion. This was the sentence that suddenly appeared in Lu Ming's mind. What do you mean? Great completion of the Foundation Establishment Chapter? Could it be that the True War Dragon Technique is divided into many chapters, and I'm only cultivating the foundation stage? Lu Ming was in a daze. His mind was filled with questions. Maybe it's very possible. After all, the True War Dragon Technique was brought out by the 9 Sons Supreme from the 9 Dragons' ruins. Maybe he only brought a part of it out and didn't bring the whole thing. If that's the case, then there are other chapters of the True War Dragon Technique. If a single foundation chapter can cultivate 10 times the amount of true chi, then how terrifying are the other chapters? Lu Ming's mind was filled with thoughts. Towards the end, his heart was already burning with passion and he was full of expectations. It seems that I must go to the 9 Dragon Ruins if I have the chance in the future. Lu Ming decided in his heart. It could be said that his current achievements were inseparable from his relationship with Jiolong. The first bloodline was awakened by a drop of blood essence from the 9 dragons. The True War Dragon Technique and the 9 Dragons Heaven-Treading Steps he cultivated were both brought out from the 9 Dragon Ruins by the 9 Sons Supreme. Lu Ming had to go to the 9 Dragon Ruins. Now that the True War Dragon Technique has been fully cultivated, it's time to go to the 100 Deities Slope to take a look. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Then, Lu Ming left the Eastern Sky Courtyard and went to the square where he had first entered. He took out the Ditian Divine Guard's token and channeled essential chi into it. Runes immediately appeared and a small vortex suddenly appeared in the air. Lu Ming did not hesitate and stepped into it. The next moment, Lu Ming realized that he was already in the Myriad Star City, in front of the huge pavilion of the Emperor's Sky Divine Palace. Buzz! Lu Ming's figure moved and he flew to the west. The 100 Deities Slope was more than 300,000 miles to the west of the Myriad Star City. With Lu Ming's current cultivation, it would only take him a few hours to travel 300,000 miles. 2 hours later, an area shrouded in gray fog appeared before Lu Ming's eyes. Looking from a distance, this area seemed to be endless and vast. The 100 Deities Slope was extremely strange. It was said that tens of thousands of years ago, the 100 Deities Slope wasn't called the 100 Deities Slope but had another name. One day, a crack suddenly appeared in the sky, and more than 100 corpses fell from it. There were corpses of all races. Some were human-shaped, and some were from other races. Some of them were not big, while some were as big as mountains. According to the records, some people had seen the corpses of divine beasts like true dragons and phoenixes fall. Each and every one of the corpses had a monstrous aura, and were all existences beyond imagination. That was why people called him the 100 Gods. After those corpses fell to the ground, the entire 100 Deities Slope changed. The entire area was filled with killing intent and baleful chi. No one could enter this area. No matter how strong an expert was, once they entered that area, their bodies would be torn apart by the powerful killing intent and their divine soul would be destroyed. It was only after 10,000 years had passed that there were some changes. Some people discovered that those below the martial king realm could enter. However, those above the rank of martial king were still unable to enter. Those above the rank of martial king would die an unnatural death. In the past, there had even been a supreme existence at the martial royal realm who had barged in, but had not come out yet. As for those below the rank of martial king, they would be fine and would even be able to obtain unparalleled opportunities. Inside, not only would it be very helpful for the comprehension of the essence realm of heaven and earth, but one could also obtain some supreme treasures. There were even people who obtained the inheritance of an unparalleled existence inside, and from there, they soared to the sky and became the peak experts of the continent. There was a period of time when the 100 Deities slope became the focal point of all the major factions in the divine wilderness continent. However, as time passed, more and more people entered. Most of the treasures and inheritances inside had already been plundered clean. This was why the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace was able to occupy it later on. Otherwise, the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace alone might not be able to take over such an important place. Even now, the 100 Deities slope was still one of the most important sacred grounds in the Tianxian region's eastern palace. The number of people who could enter was extremely small, and not many people could enter every year. Lu Ming slowly approached the 100 Deities slope. Who is it? This place is the forbidden ground of my Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace. Anyone who trespasses will be killed without mercy. A loud shout rang out, and an aura shot up into the sky like smoke. It was extremely terrifying. A tall middle-aged man suddenly appeared not far from Lu Ming. King Tier, this was definitely a King Tier, and he was extremely powerful. The 100 Deities slope was the sacred ground of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. It was normal for there to be powerful existences guarding it. Lu Ming was certain that there was more than one expert around the 100 Deities slope. There were probably many experts. Senior, I'm the new Eastern Sky Divine Guard of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace. This is my Divine Guard token. Lu Ming cupped his fists, took out the Divine Guard token, and handed it to the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man took it and looked at it. His expression softened and he revealed a faint smile. You are indeed the Eastern Sky Divine Guard. Chapter 449. 449 Spring Water and Sword-Shaped Plant. When Lu Ming flew into the area filled with black fog, he suddenly felt a huge force acting on his body. Lu Ming's expression changed. He slowly descended and landed on the ground. Indeed, flying is not allowed on the 100 Deities slope. Lu Ming muttered and then looked around. It was very strange. Everything was normal outside, but once he flew into the gray fog, not only could he not fly, but even the surrounding environment had changed. As far as the eye could see, it was a gray desert. Yes, it was all desert, not a single blade of grass could be seen. Lu Ming did not hesitate and strode forward. However, not long after, Lu Ming's expression changed again. That was because he felt that his cultivation level was being suppressed and kept dropping. It had not been long since his cultivation was suppressed to the middle stage of martial ancestor 9 Dan. It's one thing to hear the rumors, but it's another to feel it for myself. It's not a good feeling to watch your cultivation level drop continuously. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. Then, he couldn't be bothered and continued to run forward. According to the experience of his predecessors, the deeper he went into the 100 Deities slope, the more opportunities he would be able to obtain. 2 hours later, Lu Ming's cultivation had been completely suppressed. He could not circulate his essential qi at all. He was no different from an ordinary person who had not cultivated. Fortunately, Lu Ming's physical strength was extremely strong. He had already achieved the 6th stage physical body, so he could still retain some combat power. Furthermore, his use of force and intent wasn't suppressed. However, since he could not use his essential qi, Lu Ming's speed had been reduced by many times. He could only travel like an ordinary person. Who? Lu Ming's muscles bulged and he ran across the desert like an agile monkey. All of a sudden, Lu Ming stopped. He felt a strange wave of fluctuation spreading toward him. A ray of blue light was floating in the air. This is the domain of the heaven and earth, the domain of water. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. On the 100 Deities slope, one of the fortuitous encounters was to encounter this kind of heaven and earth intent realm floating in the air. According to the speculations of the experts, this essence realm of heaven and earth should have been left behind by the corpses that had fallen here. Those powerful existences had comprehended the intent of heaven and earth to an incredible level and merged it with their own will. After death, the intent of heaven and earth didn't dissipate and would wander around the world. If one could encounter it and comprehend it, they would have great gains. This was because the intent realms of heaven and earth seemed to have been tamed by someone, and it was much easier to comprehend them. One wisp was worth at least several intent crystals. Unfortunately, it's the water concept. I can't use it now. Lu Ming sighed and left the place reluctantly. He continued to move forward and walked around. Lu Ming did not encounter anything for the next 2 days. He did not even encounter a wisp of the essence realm of heaven and earth, let alone any treasure. On the 3rd day, Lu Ming encountered a wisp of the creation of earth, which made him sigh with misfortune. However, on the 7th day, Lu Ming's luck came and he encountered a wisp of fire concept. Immediately, Lu Ming used his own power to entangle this wisp of the essence realm of heaven and earth and began to comprehend it. Following Lu Ming's comprehension, this wisp of intent realm of heaven and earth began to dissipate slowly like an intent crystal. It was no wonder that the quota to enter the 100 Deities slope was so precious. That was because the intent realm of heaven and earth that wandered within the 100 Deities slope would decrease. Perhaps after a few years, the 100 Deities slope would no longer be so attractive. A day later, the intent completely dissipated and Lu Ming's comprehension of the fire force had greatly deepened. He was getting closer and closer to comprehending a trace of fire concept. After that, Lu Ming continued to spin. On the 11th day of Lu Ming's entry to the 100 Deities slope, he once again encountered a wisp of the essence realm of heaven and earth that was useful to him. Thunder concept. Lu Ming was overjoyed and began to comprehend. The force of lightning had advanced by leaps and bounds. With this wisp of heaven-earth intent, the force of lightning had reached major completion. Lu Ming had cultivated 3 types of forces. This was one of his advantages at the 100 Deities slope. He could easily encounter the concepts of heaven and earth that were useful to him. If one had only comprehended one type of force, it would be much more difficult to encounter the corresponding force. Perhaps they wouldn't be able to encounter it more than a few times in 3 months. However, Lu Ming's luck seemed to have run out after that. For 7 consecutive days, he did not encounter a single trace of Shi. I'm really unlucky. I've been spinning around all day and can't even cultivate my true qi. Lu Ming sighed. Suddenly, Lu Ming's expression changed. He could smell the faint scent of medicine coming from the front. What's going on? There's desert everywhere, not a drop of water, not even a blade of grass. So how could there be a medicinal fragrance? Lu Ming was very curious and followed the scent of the medicine. Not long after, Lu Ming saw some rocks standing in the desert. This was the first time Lu Ming saw rocks in the 100 Deities slope. The 100 Deities slope was filled with desert and sand. There's water and a spiritual herb. Lu Ming walked into the pile of rocks and was surprised to find that there was a small pool in the middle of the pile of rocks. It was less than 1 meter in length and width. There was a clear spring in the pond, which emitted an astonishing amount of spiritual qi and life essence. In the spring, there was a blade of grass. The grass's leaves were thin and long. It had 8 leaves, each of which was like a sword. The leaves were green and luscious. There is actually a plant growing on the 100 Deities slope. It is really amazing. Furthermore, I can feel that this sword-shaped plant is actually emitting an extremely powerful sword intent. Lu Ming was deep in thought. Perhaps there was a supreme being's corpse that fell here. Its essence turned into this spring, and its intent turned into this sword-shaped plant. Amazing, these two things are both amazing. This clear spring contains a strong life force and can be used to cultivate top-tier spirit herbs. And this sword-shaped plant, if a sword cultivator touched it, he would definitely treat it as a treasure and learn the sword way from it. Lu Ming's eyes were bright and he was extremely excited. Then, Lu Ming took out a jade box and carefully placed a stream of clear spring water and the sword-shaped plant into it. Not even a drop of spring water was left in the small pool. Wait, I wonder if it's useful for the two branches to cultivate spiritual herbs? Lu Ming had an idea. He suddenly thought of the two withered branches that spurted out from the heaven's gate. With a thought, two dried branches appeared in his hands. He then placed the two dried branches into the clear spring in the jade box and soaked them in. Let's wait for a while and see if it's useful. Lu Ming smiled and kept the jade box in the supreme shrine. Then, Lu Ming continued to move forward. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming had been at the 100 Deities slope for 1.5 months. During this period of time, Lu Ming had encountered a wisp of wind concept and a wisp of fire concept. Lu Ming's comprehension of the concept of wind had advanced another step. As for the force of fire, it had even achieved a qualitative leap, comprehending a trace of the concept of fire in one go. Lu Ming's power of fire had finally advanced to an intent realm. Lu Ming's combat strength had increased by a large margin after he had comprehended a trace of the wind and fire forces. At the same time, he could begin to cultivate the third stage of the Dragon God's three absolutes. Chapter 450. 450 Chapter 450 Towering Anger. Lu Ming spent the rest of his time searching for intent realms while comprehending the third stage of the Dragon God's three absolutes. Although he couldn't use true Qi on the 100 Deities slope and couldn't use the three absolutes of the Dragon God, it didn't hinder his comprehension. As long as he comprehended it thoroughly, he would be able to successfully cultivate it when he left the 100 Deities slope. 2 days later. What? As Lu Ming was running, he suddenly realized that there was another young man running in front of him. The young man looked to be about 27 or 28 years old. He had the back of a tiger and the waist of a bear. His body looked very strong. It was obvious that he had also seen Lu Ming. His eyes flashed as he continued to run and disappeared in front of him. Looking at his age, he's most likely a Detian Divine Guard from the previous batch. Lu Ming's gaze flickered. This was the first time he had met anyone else after entering the 100 Deities slope. Those who could enter the 100 Deities slope were definitely not simple. They were either geniuses or had a powerful backer. Lu Ming pondered for a moment and did not think too much about it. He continued to search while comprehending the three absolutes of the Dragon God. The next day, Lu Ming came to a desert with strong winds. In this desert, the wind was strong and fierce. It whistled endlessly, bringing up sand and dust. Lu Ming did not have essential qi to protect his body. He could only channel the force of the wind to resist the strong wind around him. Buzz! Buzz! Suddenly, Lu Ming heard the chirping of birds coming from the front. Bird chirping! Lu Ming was stunned. The 100 Gods slope could be said to be barren and deathly silent, so how could there be birds? Lu Ming was very curious. He followed the sound and searched. That's the qi. Not long after, Lu Ming stopped and looked at the sky in shock. 100 meters up in the sky, there was a round bead. The bead was green and crystal clear, as if it was made of the most beautiful green jade. On the surface of the pearl, there was a small green bird. It flew around the pearl and let out chirps. Lu Ming could tell at a glance that the green bird was not a real bird, but an illusion of the bead. Could this soon be the spirit of a spirit weapon? A spirit weapon giving birth to a weapon spirit? What grade was this spirit weapon? Moreover, the wind concept on it is so dense. This is definitely a supreme weapon. I'm rich, I'm rich. Lu Ming was overjoyed. If he could obtain this kind of spirit weapon, it would have endless uses. Lu Ming approached it carefully. He released the concept of wind from his body, trying to attract the bead. Buzz. Buzz. When Lu Ming got closer, the green bird noticed him. It let out a crisp chirping and sized him up with its big eyes. Lu Ming activated the concept of wind and approached the round pearl. When the little bird came into contact with Lu Ming's concept of wind, it had a friendly look in its eyes. He seemed to enjoy the aura that Lu Ming exuded. There's a chance. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He exerted more effort to cast the concept of wind. Brat, get lost. This bead is mine. At this moment, a cold shout was heard. A burly and tall young man strode over. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. This young man was the one he had met yesterday. The burly young man's eyes were filled with greed as he stared at the bead. Immediately after, a concept of wind burst out from his body. The level of mastery was even higher than Lu Ming's. Kid, disperse your wind concept and let me do it. The burly young man rebuked with a commanding tone. Idiot. Lu Ming said indifferently. He could not be bothered with the other party and focused on controlling the concept of wind. At that moment, the bird was basking in Lu Ming's creation of wind. It seemed to be enjoying it. It flapped its wings and flew toward Lu Ming with the bead. I've succeeded. Lu Ming was overjoyed. The little bird flew towards him, which meant that it had acknowledged him. Damn it. Seeing this, the burly young man shouted angrily, This bead is mine. You want it? In your dreams. Boom. A powerful wind concept rushed toward the bead. Boom. The burly teenager's concept of wind collided with Lu Ming's, creating a violent boom. Lu Ming's concept of wind trembled and dissipated with a bang. The green bird seemed to be frightened. It shrieked, flapped its wings, and flew into the sky with the bead. Where do you think you're going? The burly young man roared and bent his legs. The muscles in his body burst out, and his burly figure soared into the sky and grabbed the bead. Damn it. At this moment, Lu Ming roared madly. He stomped on the ground and his figure soared into the sky, rushing towards the round pearl. Buzz. Buzz. The little bird shrieked and flapped its wings rapidly. Gusts of strong wind emerged. The little bird and the bead turned into a green light and rushed forward, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Bang. Bang. Lu Ming and the burly teenager fell rapidly and landed on the desert, blasting two big pits in the desert. Damn it. Lu Ming shouted angrily, his eyes flashing with cold, killing intent. The bead that was about to be in his hand was destroyed by the burly young man just like that. Lu Ming's heart was bleeding. That bead was definitely not a trivial matter. It was a weapon used by an unparalleled expert who had cultivated the wind concept. If Lu Ming could get it and comprehend the wind concept on it, his wind concept would definitely advance by leaps and bounds. It was not impossible for him to condense an intent rune in a short time. But now, it was all gone. His killing intent towards the burly young man was obvious. Kid, what are you shouting for? I haven't even questioned you yet. Kid, I told you to disperse your wind concept and let me do it. Why didn't you do as I said? Now that you've caused me to lose this supreme treasure, tell me, how do you intend to compensate me for my loss? The burly young man glared at Lu Ming with an extremely gloomy expression, his killing intent flickering. Compensate you? Ha! Lu Ming was so angry that he laughed. He was the one who had discovered it and was about to get it, but it was destroyed by the burly young man. Now, the burly young man actually wanted him to compensate. It was simply laughable. I'll pay for your head, you idiot. Today, you must die. Lu Ming's gaze was menacing as he strode toward the burly teenager. Ha, you want to kill me? What a joke. This is the 100 deities slope, where cultivation is suppressed and physical body is superior. My physical body has already reached the upper tier of level 5, surpassing some kings. You want to kill me with just your abilities? You're the one who's going to die. The burly teenager laughed wildly. His muscles bulged as he took a step forward and rushed toward Lu Ming. At the same time, He threw a punch. Boom! Lu Ming also threw a punch, aiming at the other party's fist. You still dare to compete with me? You're looking for death. Shatter! The burly young man revealed a ferocious smile. He wanted to shatter Lu Ming's fist with one punch and let him lie on the ground and wail. Bang! The two fists collided with each other. Gotcha! As the burly youth wished, the sound of bones breaking rang out. However, the burly young man's face no longer had any ferocity or excitement, only fear and disbelief. Ah! Then, the burly young man let out a shrill scream. Chapter 451. 451 Thunder Cauldron Tribulation. The burly young man's face was completely scrunched up, and it was twisted with endless pain. Bang! Lu Ming's fist was filled with a terrifying amount of energy and it exploded. The burly young man's fist exploded like tofu. The burly young man's body retreated crazily and he let out a hysterical scream. The two of them exchanged a punch. The fist did not shatter Lu Ming but he himself. Now, go to hell. Lu Ming's eyes were cold as he strode toward the burly young man. What are you doing? What are you doing? The burly young man shouted like a frightened little girl, without any of his previous arrogance. At that moment, there was only fear in his heart. The strength of Lu Ming's physical body had exceeded his imagination. It was definitely above rank 6. His physical body had reached the 6th grade even before he reached the Martial King realm. How did he cultivate? What are you doing? Did you not hear that? I'll send you on your way. Lu Ming's killing intent was like the snow in winter, bone-chilling. No, you can't kill me. I'm the son of the Wind Palace's guardian. If you kill me, my father will definitely not let you off. The burly young man roared. Hee, there's only the two of us here. How would your father know if I kill you? From the moment you tried to seize the bead, your fate has already been decided. Bang! Lu Ming took a step forward and threw a punch. The physical body of a upper-tier rank 6 was extremely powerful. With a punch, the air trembled like a falling meteorite, bringing with it a terrifying force as it headed toward the burly young man. No, no! The burly teenager roared, but it was impossible for him to avoid it. He could only wave his other fist in an attempt to block Lu Ming. Gotcha! When the two fists collided, the burly young man's other fist also exploded like tofu. My hand, my hand. The burly young man let out an extremely shrill scream. His facial features were completely twisted together, and tears and snot were flowing down his face. His entire body was trembling, his legs were trembling, and his crotch was wet. He had peed himself out of fear. Regret, extreme regret. If he had known this would be the result, he would not have taken the bead. Initially, he thought that he could suppress Lu Ming with his 5th stage physical body. He did not expect Lu Ming to be so powerful. Don't kill me, don't kill me, don't kill me, I know my mistake, I know my mistake. The burly young man staggered backward and begged. Bang! The next moment, a terrifying fist force hit his chest. The violent fist force directly penetrated his body and shattered his heart. The burly young man's eyes instantly popped out, and blood kept coming out of his mouth. His face was full of regret, and the next moment he died. Lu Ming swiped his hand and removed the burly teenager's storage ring. What bad luck. I've run into this guy and let a peerless treasure escape. No, I have to continue chasing. Maybe I can catch up. At the thought of this, Lu Ming took a step that covered dozens of meters and chased in the direction that the round bead had flown in at top speed. This chase went on for thousands of miles. However, there was still no trace of the bead. Hey, my precious pearl! Lu Ming wanted to roar. Then, Lu Ming was unwilling to give up. He gritted his teeth and continued to chase. However, this time, Lu Ming stopped before he was 100 miles away. Boom, boom, boom. Deafening rumbles sounded in front of them. Endless lightning flashed as if it wanted to destroy the world. There was an ocean of thunder and lightning. The endless thunder and lightning flashed everywhere like lightning snakes. It was extremely terrifying. There was an ancient cauldron floating in the air. It was as large as a mountain, and it was the source of the boundless lightning. In the sky, dark clouds filled the air. Between the dark clouds, there was actually a pool. In the pool, water was constantly flowing down. The strange thing was that the water was blood red in color. Like the water of the ocean, it flowed towards the huge cauldron. The huge cauldron kept sending out lightning bolts, bombarding the blood-red water flow. However, it was useless. The blood-red water flow kept hitting the huge cauldron, causing it to rumble and shake. The lightning on the cauldron's body was decreasing, and its light was dimming. Tribulation transcendence, it's tribulation transcendence. This huge cauldron is actually tribulation transcendence. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. Although Lu Ming did not know what kind of tribulation the pool in the sky was, he was sure that it was a kind of heavenly tribulation. There were many types of heavenly tribulations. Lu Ming only knew a few common ones. Lu Ming found it unbelievable that a huge cauldron was actually undergoing a tribulation. Boom, boom, boom. The pool in the sky tilted slightly, and endless blood-colored water poured down like a vast ocean. The sky rumbled as it pressed down on the giant cauldron. Clang! The giant cauldron shook, and a bolt of lightning thicker than a bucket burst out from its body, trying to repel the blood-colored water flow. Unfortunately, although the power of the lightning was extremely terrifying, the blood-colored water flow seemed to restrain it. The lightning had no effect on the blood-colored water flow. Boom! 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 The blood-colored water stream kept hitting the cauldron, and the huge cauldron kept shaking as if it couldn't take it anymore. This huge cauldron is definitely a supreme treasure, just like that bead. If I can get it, I'll be rich. Unfortunately, the heavenly tribulation is too terrifying. If I go in, I'll probably be washed away by the blood-red water, and not even a residue will be left. Lu Ming pondered secretly. He could only stare and feel anxious. At this moment, the cauldron began to shake even more violently, and the lightning it was emitting was getting lesser and lesser. It seemed like it could no longer hold on. At this moment, a sudden change occurred. The stone egg that had been hanging on Lu Ming's hair suddenly flew out. It emitted a bright light and rushed towards the pool in the sky. In the process of flying, the stone egg actually became bigger and bigger. In the end, it became bigger than a mountain. A crack actually appeared on the eggshell. It was like a big mouth that bit towards the pool. Boom, boom, boom. The pool seemed to have been disturbed. It shook slightly, and the world rumbled. An infinite amount of blood rushed out of the pool and rushed toward the stone egg. However, the stone egg glowed, and it was completely fearless. It rushed over and appeared above the pool. The next moment, the stone egg bit down. Gotcha! Half of the pond was directly bitten off. At this moment, the entire heaven and earth shook violently as if the heavens were angry and were about to face the end of the world. However, the next moment, gotcha! The stone egg opened its mouth and bit, swallowing the remaining half of the pool. The world suddenly became calm. Buzz! The stone egg glowed and shrunk rapidly. It flew back to Lu Ming's hair and hung on it as if nothing had happened. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. He stood there in a daze and only reacted after a long while. What the hell was this? It even swallowed the pool of water where the heavenly tribulation manifested. Isn't this too heaven-defying? Lu Ming widened his eyes and muttered to himself. Although he knew that Dandan was extraordinary, this was indeed shocking. Clang! At this moment, the huge cauldron made a sound and its body shrank rapidly. After a while, it became the size of a fist and flew toward Lu Ming. Chapter 452. 452 Comprehending the Thunder Concept. Buzz! The huge cauldron became the size of a fist and appeared in front of Lu Ming. The cauldron had 3 legs and 2 handles. The body of the cauldron seemed to be made of bronze, and there were some strange patterns carved on it. The body of the cauldron was densely covered with thunder and lightning, making a clattering sound. It was a lightning cauldron. The lightning cauldron hovered in front of Lu Ming as if it was sizing him up. Then, it flew a few rounds around him. Instinctively, Lu Ming's body exuded the force of lightning. Clang! The lightning cauldron trembled slightly and suddenly crashed into Lu Ming's glabella. Lu Ming was shocked. He retreated instinctively, but it was too late. The lightning cauldron crashed into his forehead and disappeared in the next moment. Boom! Lu Ming felt the world shaking and his vision turned black. The next moment he found himself in a hazy place. The fog was surging all around him and it was boundless. A giant cauldron that was taller than a mountain floated in front of him, and a thunder concept that was as vast as the ocean spread. Is he trying to break into my sea of consciousness? Lu Ming's pupils constricted. He didn't expect the lightning cauldron to rush into his sea of consciousness. Let's talk after we get out. Lu Ming focused his mind. The next moment, his mind left his sea of consciousness and returned to his physical body. As far as the eye could see, it was a desert, and peace had been restored here. That lightning cauldron actually ran into my spiritual sea. Does that mean it's going to follow me? Also, let's go and take a look at that terrifying thunder concept. With a single thought, Lu Ming appeared in the supreme shrine. He then focused and returned to the mist-filled area. This place was his sea of consciousness. The lightning cauldron hovered in the air, unmoving. However, the boundless lightning intent continued to surge forth in an extremely dense manner. This thunder mentality is too terrifying. I'm rich. Lu Ming laughed heartily in his heart. He then called out to the lightning cauldron a few times, but it did not respond at all. Although he did not see the weapon spirit of the lightning cauldron, Lu Ming was certain that it had a spirit. However, it did not have any reaction at all. It might have been injured by the heavenly tribulation and needed to recover. I don't care anymore. I'll first comprehend the thunder concept. Lu Ming walked to the lightning cauldron and sat down cross-legged, trying to comprehend the vast concept of lightning. The thunder will from the lightning cauldron was too strong. It was dozens of times stronger than the thunder will in the Tao Enlightenment Palace. It was also clearer and easier to comprehend. It was as if there was an unparalleled existence teaching Lu Ming the concept of thunder at all times. Lu Ming felt that he was bathing in the ocean of the thunder concept. The power of the thunder was advancing by leaps and bounds. Cool, this is too cool. Lu Ming was ecstatic. He was fascinated by the carefreeness of the rapid improvement. He was even more focused on comprehending it. As time passed, Lu Ming's lightning force was increasing at a terrifying speed. Early, middle, and late stages of mastery of lightning force. In just 5 days, Lu Ming's lightning force had reached the perfect stage. However, Lu Ming had no intention of stopping. The thunder mentality around him was too advanced. It was definitely not a level 1 thunder mentality. It was many times more advanced than the level 1 thunder mentality that a martial king had comprehended. Comprehending in such an environment, for someone who was still in the form of an aura, the speed of improvement was terrifying. It was like a person making money. When you had no capital, it was difficult to even earn tens of thousands of yuan. But when you have millions or tens of millions, is it difficult to earn tens of thousands? It was not difficult. Lu Ming continued to cultivate, trying to break through the concept. After completing the thunder mentality, the speed of improvement started to slow down. However, it was only compared to before. Compared to others, it was still many times faster. This feels great. I wonder what kind of expert the owner of this lightning cauldron is. It's said that even a martial emperor will die here. Could he be in existence beyond the martial emperor realm? Lu Ming pondered secretly. Surpass a martial emperor? Lu Ming simply did not dare to imagine. In the divine wilderness continent, a martial emperor was the strongest expert. They ruled over a region, their might shook the world, and no one was their match. Was there really an existence beyond the martial emperor realm in the world? Lu Ming found it hard to imagine. No wonder, it said that someone once obtained an inheritance at the 100 Deities slope and later became an expert that dominated the divine wilderness continent. It's really possible. Lu Ming pondered and continued to comprehend. Just half a month later, the lightning force had undergone a qualitative change. It broke the shackles in one fell swoop and transformed from momentum to intent. The thunder mentality. Lu Ming had comprehended the thunder mentality in one go. Haha, I didn't expect to comprehend the thunder mentality so quickly. Now, I've comprehended the thunder mentality of wind, fire, and thunder. What I need to do now is to merge the thunder mentality with the wind and fire mentality. Once the three mentalities are completely merged, the three absolutes of Dragon God will immediately transform into a heaven-grade upper-level martial technique. Then, my combat power will reach a terrifying level. At that time, how many battles will I be able to fight? 9? Lu Ming's eyes were bright. Legend had it that 9 was the limit. No matter how peerless the divine wilderness continent's geniuses were, they could at most reach the 9th battle. It was impossible to break through. It was like a rule. He was a genius who had fought 9 battles, and according to the legends, he had the potential to become a martial emperor. Lu Ming was really looking forward to it. For the time being, Lu Ming put aside the comprehension of the thunder concept and began to focus on fusing the three concepts. Unfortunately, the fusion of 3 intents was too difficult. The difficulty of the fusion of intents would increase greatly with each additional intent. It was even more difficult for him to merge the 3 intents now than it was for him to merge the wind and fire intents. Fortunately, Lu Ming already had experience in the fusion of intents. He could avoid many detours, but he could still fuse them in a short time. As Lu Ming was trying his best to merge the 3 concepts, a terrifying bolt of lightning suddenly burst out in a courtyard in the Thunder Palace of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. Lightning shot into the sky, and dark clouds instantly covered the sky. This time, countless people were alarmed. Heavenly tribulation, that's heavenly tribulation. Someone's going through the heavenly tribulation and is about to break through to the martial king realm. Who is it? It should be Xue Chao. I heard that he went into closed-door cultivation in order to break through to the martial king realm. Amazing! I wonder if he can succeed. Boom, boom, boom. After that, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Heavenly fire descended, and the punishment descended. Half an hour later, the dark clouds dispersed, and a long howl shook the heavens and earth. Then, a purple figure shot into the sky from the Thunder Palace. He stood in the air, lightning flashing around him, and he was full of a disdainful aura. It's really Xue Chao. He has broken through to the martial king realm. There's another martial king under the Thunder Palace master. I'm so envious. After becoming a martial king, you'll be able to transcend the mortal world and have a lifespan of 1,000 years. I'll have to work hard. A series of discussions broke out in the surroundings. Most of them were filled with envy. Buzz. Qiu Changkong's figure appeared beside the young man in purple. He had a flattering smile on his face. Congratulations, senior brother. Congratulations, you've entered the king's tier. From now on, you'll have 1,000 years of lifespan and enjoy the glory of life. Chapter 453. 453 Tempering True Origin. Junior brother Qiu, as long as you work hard, you'll definitely be able to step into the king's realm within 10 years. The purple-clothed youth, Xue Chao, laughed heartily and was extremely proud. In the future, I'll still need senior brother's guidance. Qiu Changkong replied. Xue Chao nodded in satisfaction and said, Oh right, where's that Lu Ming? I've already broken through to the martial king realm. Killing him will be as easy as killing an ant. I'll definitely find a chance to get rid of him. Xue Chao clasped his hands behind his back, looking as if he was looking down on the world. Lu Ming seems to have gone out some time ago. Qiu Changkong's eyes flashed with a cold light. Oh, he went out? He's lucky, let him live for a while longer. Junior brother Qiu, get someone to keep an eye on him. Inform me as soon as Lu Ming returns. Xueqiao said. Many thanks, senior brother. Qiu Changkong was overjoyed. At the 100 Deities slope, Lu Ming was trying his best to merge the three types of forces. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, another month had passed. Although he had made great progress in the fusion of the three wills, he was still a little bit away from being able to completely fuse them. And at this time, the 3-month deadline of the 100 Deities slope was about to arrive. Lu Ming left the Supreme Shrine and rushed out at full speed. If he were to travel at full speed, his speed would be much faster. 2 days later, Lu Ming had left the 100 Deities slope. The moment he left the 100 Deities slope, the essential qi in Lu Ming's entire body instantly recovered. It was like the water of a large river, surging and mighty, reaching the peak of its history. I didn't expect that after being suppressed for 3 months, I would still improve. I've already reached the limit of the 9th tier of the martial ancestor realm. I've also comprehended the will of my wind, fire, and thunder. When I return, I can start to refine my true yuan. Buzz! Lu Ming rose into the air and headed for the Myriad Star City. 2 hours later, Lu Ming entered the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace and returned to the Eastern Sky Courtyard. Lu Ming, that guy, is finally back. A low voice came from the clouds not far away. Then, a figure flashed and disappeared. East Heaven Courtyard. Now, I'll start refining my true yuan with the 3 intents. Lu Ming sat cross-legged. Boom, boom, boom. 3 powerful concepts burst forth but disappeared in a flash. Lu Ming controlled the 3 concepts and fused them into his dantian. Bang, bang, bang. Then, the 3 intents struck the vortex as if they were forging iron. The cyclone trembled, and something that looked like sparks flew out. Bang, bang, bang. Lu Ming continued to control the 3 concepts of heaven and earth, bombarding the vortex continuously. There were constantly sparks flying out. They were the impurities in his true qi. Refining true essence was like tempering steel. True qi was like mixed iron, and true essence was like steel. If it was not for the essence realm of heaven and earth, there was no other way to achieve this. At the peak of the 9th level of the martial ancestor realm, one's true qi was already extremely condensed. It was easier said than done to temper it. This was especially true for Lu Ming, who was at the 9th stage of the true War Dragon technique. His true qi had been condensed to the extreme, and the difficulty of tempering was extremely shocking. Fortunately, Lu Ming cultivated 3 types of heaven and earth concepts at the same time. The tempering effect was many times stronger than that of one concept alone. It was not as simple as multiplying by 3. Bang, bang. The 3 types of heaven and earth intent realms continued to bombard, causing sparks to fly in all directions and rumbling sounds to ring out. At the same time, a series of dragon roars could be heard. Half an hour later, the vortex suddenly shook violently. Immediately after, a crystal-clear liquid-like substance floated out. True origin energy. I've finally refined a strand of true origin energy. After that, Lu Ming put in even more effort in tempering. After the first wisp of true essence was born, the rest was much easier as more true essence was refined. 2 hours later, the true qi in the qi cyclone and meridians had all been refined into crystal-clear true essence. However, Lu Ming discovered a fact. The amount of essential core was too little. It was less than 1% of the essential qi. From true qi to true essence, it was like momentum to intent. It was a qualitative improvement. True essence was tens or even hundreds of times more condensed than true qi. Of course, it was also many times more powerful. Once true qi was refined into true essence, he could probably only refine 1 portion out of 100 portions. Immediately, Lu Ming felt that his dantian and meridians were empty. Top-grade spirit crystals? Lu Ming waved his hand and a total of 10,000 to 5,000 pieces of top-grade spiritual crystals appeared beside him. Explode! Lu Ming shouted. Bang, bang, bang! All 5,000 supreme spiritual crystals exploded. The 9-dragon bloodline opened its mouth and swallowed. The surging spiritual chi of heaven and earth gushed into the 9-dragon bloodline's mouth like a tidal wave. Then, it turned into essential chi and surged into Lu Ming's body. It replenished the essential chi in Lu Ming's body. Very soon, Lu Ming's body was filled with surging essential chi again. I'll continue the tempering. Then, Lu Ming started the tempering process again. After the genuine chi was transformed into genuine vitality, there was a constant surge of genuine chi from the bloodline of the 9 dragons. The vital essence in Lu Ming's body was increasing. 1%, 2%, 3%. Very soon, the 5,000 pieces of spiritual crystals were all used up. Lu Ming took out another 5,000 pieces of spiritual crystals. The process of tempering one's quintessential essence consumed a lot of top-grade spirit crystals. Therefore, Lu Ming had already exchanged for them. The tempering was going on madly. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. In 3 days, Lu Ming had used up all the best-grade spirit crystals he had. At this time, Lu Ming's vital essence had only reached 50%. Terrifying. It was really terrifying. Lu Ming had a total of 45,000 pieces of top-grade spiritual crystals. The amount of energy required for the true War Dragon technique is too terrifying. An ordinary person would need 700 to 800 pieces, or at most 10,000 pieces of top-grade spiritual crystals, to complete the task. But I need so much energy. It's too terrifying. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. It seems that I need to get a batch of top-grade spiritual crystals. Lu Ming sighed. In fact, it was also possible to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to replenish and slowly temper it. However, that would take too long and Lu Ming could not afford to waste it. Top-grade spiritual crystals. How can I get enough of them? Lu Ming thought hard. He had already sold everything he could and exchanged them for supreme spiritual crystals. Now, he really didn't have much left to sell. I obtained some dragon's saliva from the dragon's cave. I was planning to keep it to cultivate the true War Dragon technique, but now that I've cultivated it to the 9th stage, I can't use it anymore. I can sell it. Also, I can sell the sword-shaped plant I got at the 100 Gods slope. I'm sure I can get a good price for it. Lu Ming was deep in thought. Oh right, there's also that guy's storage ring. He thought of the storage ring of the burly young man he had killed at the 100 Deities slope. He immediately opened it and read it. Lu Ming was overjoyed. There were 10,000 pieces of top-grade spiritual crystals and a few other random items that were probably worth more than 1,000 pieces of top-grade spiritual crystals. That burly young man was the son of a guardian of the Wind Palace. It was normal for him to have so many top-grade spirit crystals. He was most likely saving them up to refine his vital essence. Now, Lu Ming had taken all of them. Let's go to Qijinlu. Lu Ming stood up and walked towards the mystical treasure hall. Chapter 454. 454 Challenging the King. Lu Ming left the eastern sky courtyard and soared into the sky, heading towards the mystical treasure house. Lu Ming has finally come out of the eastern sky courtyard. Judging from the direction he's headed, he should be heading towards the house of mystical treasures. Hurry up and send a message to senior brother Shui. When Lu Ming left the eastern sky courtyard, a young man appeared in the clouds in the distance. He took out a 10,000-mile sound-transmitting talisman and sent a message. Lu Ming did not go at a very fast speed. There were many people in the air. If he went too fast, he was afraid that something might happen. After a long while, the mystical treasure hall came into sight. Lu Ming. At this moment, A cold shout reverberated across the world. Lu Ming frowned and turned around. Behind him, two young men were walking in the air. Lu Ming frowned at the sight of the two of them. Qiu Changkong, and it's him. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. One of them was Qiu Changkong. As for the other young man in purple, Lu Ming recognized him with a single glance. He was the young man who had come to the Mystic Essence Sword to distribute the invitation letter for the selection of the Emperor Sky Divine Guards. Qiu Changkong and Xue Chao arrived before Lu Ming in an instant. "What business do you have with me?" Lu Ming asked indifferently. "What business do you have?" "Ah, Lu Ming, you've forgotten so quickly. 3 months ago, you talked back to the master of the Lightning Palace in front of everyone. That was outrageous. There's no harm in telling you that I am the third disciple of the Thunder Palace Master, Xue Chao. Today, I will seek justice for my master." Xue Chao's face was gloomy as he stared at Lu Ming and berated him loudly. The sound was very loud and spread far and wide. Even the people in the mystical treasure hall were alarmed. "That's Xue Chao and Lu Ming. I heard that Lu Ming disrespected the Thunder Palace Master 3 months ago. It seems like Xue Chao is going to find trouble with Lu Ming." "Yeah, Lu Ming is arrogant. He's finished this time. Hee, there's a good show to watch." The sound of air being torn rang out continuously, and hundreds of people surrounded the crowd. "Seek justice?" The corners of Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. He laughed and said, "What a joke. That day, I went to the Thunder Palace according to the normal procedure to listen to the lesson. The Thunder Palace Master wanted to chase me away for no reason. How could I not talk back to such an act? There's a saying that if the Emperor breaks the law, he should be punished with the common people. So what if he's the Palace Master of Thunder Palace? He's at fault. Why can't I say anything?" "Impudent, arrogant," Xue Chao shouted, his gaze pressing. "How dare you, Lu Ming? My master is the master of the Thunder Palace. He has made great contributions to the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace and has a respected status. How can an ant like you talk back to him? You still dare to be so arrogant and show disrespect to my master? My master is a broad-minded person. He won't lower himself to your level. However, as his disciple, I can't just sit by and do nothing. Today, I'll teach you a lesson on behalf of my master." Boom! After saying that, Xue Chao's body exploded with an incomparably terrifying aura. The aura was so powerful that it caused the space to tremble. At the side, some people couldn't withstand this aura and retreated frantically. This was the aura of a king, the might of a king. Lu Ming's pupils constricted. Back at the Mystic Essence Sword sect, Xue Chao was only a half-step king. He didn't think that after not seeing him for a while, Xue Chao would have already broken through to the king realm. To be able to break through to the king's realm at this age was already very rare. Boom, boom, boom. The aura of a king pressed down on Lu Ming like an ancient divine mountain. Lu Ming's body moved slightly to resist the pressure. Xue Chao is about to make his move. Lu Ming is finished. He deserves it. Lu Ming is so arrogant and self-righteous. I've long expected that I would be at a disadvantage. Now that Xue Chao is teaching Lu Ming a lesson in the name of being a substitute teacher, it's only reasonable. As expected, it's better to keep a low profile. Otherwise, you won't even know how you died. If he wasn't so full of himself and didn't delude himself to cultivate several kinds of intent realms at the same time, he would have already taken the Wind Palace Master as his master. If he had taken the Wind Palace Master as his master, Xue Chao wouldn't have dared to make things difficult for him. You only have yourself to blame. Many people who could not stand Lu Ming gloated and spoke coldly. Lu Ming, kneel down and admit your mistake. I'll spare you. Xue Chao shouted as he took a step forward. Boom! Heaven and earth trembled and the space rumbled. Xue Chao's kick seemed to have a tremendous force of 1 billion jin, which was extremely terrifying. With this step, the aura on his body became even stronger. Lu Ming, hurry up and kneel down to admit your mistake. Beg my senior brother to spare you. Qiu Changkong shouted from the side. Qiu Changkong, do you want to die? Lu Ming's eyes turned cold and filled with killing intent as he looked at Qiu Changkong. Qiu Changkong instantly felt a chill run down his spine and his scalp went numb. He subconsciously took a few steps back. Hee, coward. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Lu Ming, you're fucking courting death. Qiu Changkong came back to his senses. His face was flushed red as he pointed at Lu Ming and screamed madly. A rabid dog. Lu Ming glanced at Qiu Changkong indifferently, then at Xueqiao. With a wave of his hand, a spear appeared in his hand. Buzz. Pointing the tip of the spear at Xueqiao, he said, Enough with the nonsense. If you want to fight, then let's fight. Ha, you want to fight with me? Since you're looking for death, I'll fulfill your wish. Xueqiao laughed heartily. Thunder and lightning surged around his body, and countless lightning bolts revolvered around him, making him look like a thunder god. Stop! At this moment, a loud roar was heard. Boom! A tall figure suddenly appeared in the sky, and a terrifying aura emanated from his body. This aura was so oppressive that everyone almost couldn't breathe. How can we allow you to fight in the vicinity of the mystical treasure hall? If you want to fight, then go to the Divine Guard platform. The tall figure let out a rolling roar. Protector! Seeing this figure, Xueqiao's expression was incomparably grave. There were only 3 protectors in each of the 9 great halls of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace, and each of them was an extremely powerful existence. Although Xueqiao had broken through to the Martial King realm, he still had to be obedient in front of the Guardians. I'll leave my words here. If you still fight here, I won't be polite. Let's go, the protector said coldly. Then he disappeared. Damn it, Lu Ming. You're lucky today. I'll let you off for the time being. However, you'll have to leave the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace one day. I'll teach you a lesson then. Xueqiao's expression was unsightly as he coldly snorted. I'm lucky? Hee, Xueqiao, if you want to find trouble with me, you can find trouble with me. Now you want to leave, how can there be such a good thing? Lu Ming's calm voice was heard. Lu Ming, what do you mean by this? Don't tell me you still want to fight me? Xueqiao sneered. That's right. Xueqiao, I'm now officially challenging you. Do you dare to fight against me on the Divine Guard's battle platform? Lu Ming held the long spear and pointed it at Xueqiao as he shouted. His voice swept out in all directions like a storm. The scene instantly exploded. What? Lu Ming actually took the initiative to challenge Xueqiao. Did I hear him wrong? Crazy, Lu Ming is crazy. Is he blind? Can't he see that Xueqiao is already at the Martial King realm? You still dare to challenge me? I think he's too arrogant. He's so young, but he's already gotten carried away with a little bit of achievement. Ridiculous, really ridiculous. He actually dares to challenge a king tier? Chapter 455. 455A Sensation. Someone below the king tier dared to challenge a king tier. If he wasn't crazy, he must have eaten a flood dragon's gall. Since ancient times, it was as rare as a phoenix feather or a qilin horn for anyone below a king to challenge a king. Almost everyone thought that Lu Ming must have been blinded by his own arrogance. Even Xueqiao himself was stunned. Only after quite a while did he react. He said in a daze, What? What did you just say? You want to challenge me? That's right. Could it be that you don't dare to accept the challenge? Lu Ming said. You don't dare to accept the challenge? Ah, okay, I accept your challenge. I accept it 10,000 times. Xueqiao was practically shouting. He was too excited. He never expected that Lu Ming would challenge him. Was his head stuck between the door? Originally, the Emperor's Sky Divine Palace had a rule that king tiers were not allowed to challenge martial artists below king tiers. This was because the gap between them was too great. There was no suspense at all, and it would be a complete torture. Even if a king tier took the initiative to challenge him, any martial artist below the king tier could refuse. Therefore, when the guardian stopped him, he felt helpless and did not take the initiative to challenge Lu Ming. In his opinion, even if he challenged Lu Ming would reject him. He would never have dreamed that Lu Ming would actually challenge him. This was exactly what he wanted. Beside them, Qiu Changkong was so excited that he was trembling. Are you looking for death? Lu Ming is looking for death. Since that's the case, let's fight on the Divine Guard platform. With that, Lu Ming took the lead and flew towards the Divine Guard platform. Xue Chao and Qiu Changkong hurriedly followed after him, as if they were afraid that Lu Ming would run away. This is going to be a good show. Hurry up and send a message to junior brother. It's rare to see someone below the king tier challenge a king tier. Quick, I'll also send a voice transmission. The hundreds of people at the scene sent voice transmissions to those they were familiar with, asking them to come and take a look. Then, they followed Lu Ming and the rest as they flew toward the Divine Guard platform. Buzz! The space trembled and a tall figure appeared. It was none other than the protector from before. Interesting, let's go and take a look. The next moment, the figure disappeared. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with a strong desire to fight as he flew. The reason why he challenged Xue Chao wasn't because he was hot-headed, but because he had thought it through. In his heart, he had a crazy plan. He intended to borrow Xue Chao's power to fuse the wind, fire, and lightning intents. Yes, he needed external help. In the past, he had experienced the same thing. The reason why he was able to successfully merge his wind and fire forces was because he had borrowed the pressure from Qiu Changlai during his battle with him. He was going to repeat the same old trick. And Xue Chao, without a doubt, was a very good target. With Lu Ming's current combat strength, he could kill a bunch of ordinary half-step kings with one move. It was not challenging at all. And he had no confidence in challenging those old king tiers. As for Xue Chao, it was obvious that he had just broken through to the king's realm. His strength wasn't considered strong among kings, so he was just enough to fight him. Soon, they arrived at the Divine Guard platform. In a flash, Lu Ming appeared on the Divine Guard's platform. Xue Chao also followed him down the Divine Guard's platform. Buzz! And NBSP, whoosh! At this moment, the space suddenly trembled. Then, a few figures appeared in the sky. Hall Master, the Hall Master has arrived. Wind Palace Master, Fire Palace Master, Thunder Palace Master, and Gold Palace Master. Four Palace Masters have come all at once. It's too rare for a king below king to challenge a king. It's normal for the Palace Master to be attracted here. The arrival of the Palace Masters in the sky immediately caused a series of exclamations. You guys are fast. A loud laugh was heard, and another figure appeared in the sky. This figure was tall and sturdy. Although he had a head full of white hair, he was still in high spirits. The Palace Master of Earth has also arrived. Someone shouted. 5 of the 9 Palace Masters had arrived, which was more than half of the total number. Disciple greets Master. Seeing the arrival of the Thunder Palace Master, Xue Chao revealed a happy expression. He flew into the sky and saluted the Thunder Palace Master. Yes, I already know the whole story. Since Lu Ming is so arrogant, you should teach him a good lesson and let him remember. The Lightning Palace Master said indifferently. Yes, Master. Xue Chao's face revealed a look of great joy. Then he left the fighting ring. Buzz. And NBSP, whoosh. At this moment, a series of air-piercing sounds rang out as figures rushed over from all directions of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace like ants. After a while, more than 10,000 people appeared near the Divine Guard's fighting stage. From this, it could be seen how much of a stir this challenge had caused. Lu Ming, you should feel honored that so many people have come to see you being abused. Xue Chao laughed. We haven't fought yet. I advise you not to be happy too early. If you lose to me, it'll be a big embarrassment. Lu Ming smiled faintly. You defeated me? Ah, Lu Ming, you really came up with this idea. There must be something wrong with your brain. There's no such possibility. Xue Chao laughed wildly. Is that so? Lu Ming smiled faintly. He shifted his gaze and suddenly smiled. Xue Chao, how about this? Since you're so confident, why don't we have a little wager? A wager? What do you want to bet on? Xue Chao's eyes lit up. Lu Ming still wanted to bet on the auspicious item. Wasn't that giving him money? How could he not agree? I'll use this to bet with you. Lu Ming waved his hand and a sword-shaped plant appeared in the air, floating in front of him. As soon as the sword-shaped plant appeared, it released a terrifying sword intent. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The sword-shaped plant's 9 leaves were like a godly sword. They made a clanging sound and 9 sword lights shot up into the sky. This? Even Lu Ming himself was dumbfounded. Previously, when the sword-shaped plant was on the 100 deities slope, there was no such phenomenon. He did not expect that it would emit such a terrifying phenomenon when it came out. It was beyond Lu Ming's expectations. Around them, the others were also dumbfounded and tongue-tied. What kind of spiritual herb is this? It actually has such a strange phenomenon? What a powerful sword intent. It's too powerful and mysterious. One of the sword techniques I'm practicing is actually showing signs of a breakthrough. Treasure, this is a real treasure. Some people in the surroundings let out excited roars. Boom, boom. At this moment, the 5 palace masters released even more terrifying energy waves. They all stared at the sword-shaped plant with wide eyes. After the death of a supreme expert, the sword intent did not dissipate. After countless years and by chance, this spiritual herb was born, and it contains a trace of the supreme expert sword Tao. The Wind Palace master said in a trembling voice. Treasure, supreme treasure. The Palace Master of Fire said in a trembling voice. How did this kid get such a treasure? I'm definitely going to get it. The eyes of the Thunder Palace Master flickered with intense greed. Lu Ming, how about selling this sword-shaped plant to me? I'll pay 60,000 supreme spiritual crystals. The Gold Palace Master was the first to speak. 60,000 crystals? I'll pay 80,000 high-quality spiritual crystals. The Palace Master of Fire shouted. Lu Ming, I'll buy your sword-shaped plant for 100,000 top-grade spirit crystals. The Wind Palace Master also spoke. Chapter 456. 456 80,000 high-quality spiritual crystals. The surrounding people were once again dumbfounded. The battle had not even started, but the Hall Masters had already started fighting for the spiritual herb that Lu Ming had taken out. The price was a terrifying 100,000 spiritual crystals, which made many people's souls tremble. 100,000 spiritual crystals of the highest quality. What kind of concept was that? Many people would not be able to see that many spiritual crystals in their entire lives. Thunder Palace Master stood at the side with a gloomy face. He also wanted to bid, but he couldn't bring himself to do so. However, he was very eager to get the sword-shaped plant. However, if Lu Ming sold it to one of the Hall Masters, he would have no hope. Seniors. At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly cupped his fists at the Hall Masters in the sky and said in a clear voice, Seniors, I will keep my word. I said that I will use this sword-shaped plant as a wager, and I will keep my word. It won't be too late to sell it to you after I win. This. As soon as he said that, the Hall Masters all shook their heads and sighed. In the surroundings, most of the people were secretly scolding Lu Ming for being a fool. The Hall Masters had offered such a high price and he actually did not want to sell it. He actually wanted to sell it after he won? Was that even possible? Isn't Xue Chao's luck too good? This Lu Ming is just a hothead and arrogant. He actually wants to win against Xue Chao. There's no such possibility. Lu Ming hadn't reached half-step King Realm when he was in the Detian Divine Guard exam. Even if he broke through to half-step king realm during this period of time, he still wouldn't be Xue Chao's match. The gap between half-step king realm and king realm is too big. Even the most powerful genius would find it hard to cross that gap. That's right. Since ancient times, there have been very few half-step king warriors who could go against the heaven and fight against king warriors. Those kinds of people, as long as they grow up, they will become great figures. In the past 1,000 years, there has only been one person in the eastern region of the Tianxian region who has defied the heavens and defeated a king with the cultivation base of a half-step king. That is the peerless genius from 100 years ago. You mean Yan Kuang too? Of course, who else could it be? He is the only half-step king who could defeat a king in the eastern region of the Tianxian region in the last 1,000 years. He is also the disciple of the Nine Sons Supreme Master. He is now one of the top experts in the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. How can Lu Ming be compared to Yan Kuangtu? The difference is too great. However, there was one exception, and that was the Thunder Palace Master. At this moment, he was simply smiling in his heart. Lu Ming actually wanted to use the sword-shaped plant as a prize. Wasn't this clearly giving it to him for free? Thunder Palace Master tried his best to hold it in and almost burst out laughing. Xue Chao, tell me, do you dare to bet? My sword-shaped plant will bet with you for 80,000 top-quality spiritual crystals. Do you dare? If you don't dare, just say it. I will change to another one. Lu Ming shouted. 80,000? Xue Chao was a bit dazed and stuttered. He did not have 80,000 supreme spiritual crystals. He had just broken through to the martial king realm, and he had already used up all his best-grade spirit crystals to refine his vital essence. Moreover, even if he had not used all of them, he would not have 80,000 pieces of supreme spiritual crystals. He was very willing to bet with Lu Ming, but he really could not afford to fork out this sum of spiritual crystals. Chao, or make a bet with him. I'll pay for the spiritual crystals. Thunder Palace Master spoke. With a wave of his hand, a storage ring appeared in his hand and he threw it to Xue Chao. Xue Chao was ecstatic. He took the storage ring and said, "Thank you, Master." Thunder Palace Master nodded his head lightly, but he was overjoyed in his heart. This old man is so cunning. The other palace masters cursed in their hearts. Lu Ming, please be my witness. If I win, I'm afraid that someone won't admit it. Lu Ming cupped his fists at the few hall masters. Everyone was speechless again. Did he really think he would win? Lu Ming, you don't have to worry about this. Since the few of us are here, none of you can go back on your word. The Wind Palace Master said firmly. The other hall masters nodded. Then I'll have to thank the hall masters, Lu Ming said. Then he looked around and his gaze landed on a young man with a sword-shaped mark between his eyebrows. This person was the leader of the 4 divine guards, Sheng Wushuang. Sheng Wushuang, since you're here, why don't we have a bet? Lu Ming looked at Sheng Wushuang and said, You still want to bet with me? What are we betting on? Sheng Wushuang's eyes were also fixed on the sword-shaped plant. He looked away unwillingly and looked at Lu Ming. Of course it's on who will win, me or Xue Chao. I'll bet top-quality spiritual crystals on myself. I'll bet less on you, just 30,000 top-quality spiritual crystals. Do you dare? Lu Ming said with a smile. Why not? I'll bet 30,000 crystals on Brother Xue's victory. Sheng Wushuang waved his hand and a huge jade box appeared. After opening it, supreme-grade spirit crystals were arranged neatly inside, emitting dense heaven and earth spirit qi. Whoa, this Sheng Wushuang actually has 30,000 supreme spiritual crystals. He's really rich. Lu Ming muttered. Lu Ming, where are your top-grade spirit crystals? Take them out. Sheng Wushuang said. What's wrong? Sheng Wushuang, are you afraid that I'll go back on my word? Lu Ming said with a smile. How could he have 30,000 supreme spiritual crystals? There were only 10,000 supreme spiritual crystals, which he had obtained from the burly young man's storage ring. He didn't have it. He was just trying to gain something without anything. I don't think you'll dare to renege on your debt. Sheng Wushuang snorted. Lu Ming, are you done? Xueqiao said coldly. I'm done. You can start now. Lu Ming looked at Xueqiao and smiled faintly. This attitude made Xueqiao furious. Wait, I'll make you cry. Xueqiao's eyes revealed killing intent. A powerful aura burst out from his body. His entire body flashed with lightning as a powerful thunder concept exploded out. Lu Ming, I'll defeat you in 3 moves. Xueqiao let out a long hiss. His imposing manner was wild. He clenched his fist in the air, and bolts of lightning gathered in his hand, forming a sword of lightning. Thunder slash. Chi-la. Xueqiao took a step forward and his lightning sword slashed down at Lu Ming. The might of a martial king was exuded in full force. 9 dragons trampling the heavens. Boom! Lu Ming moved and kicked forward. A terrifying power spread out. The 2 forces collided and Lu Ming's body was sent flying backward. But Xueqiao didn't move at all. He's defeated. Lu Ming is going to be defeated. The difference is too great. That's right. Xueqiao should not have used his real power, but Lu Ming was completely outmatched and was sent flying with 1 move. You're so arrogant with this little combat power. I'm really speechless. A wave of discussion immediately broke out in the surroundings. Lose. Xueqiao roared, his eyes incomparably cold. He pounced on Lu Ming like lightning. The corners of Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. He took a step forward and his figure soared into the sky. 9 dragons trampling the heavens. Boom. Boom. This time he took 2 steps. The space shook violently. The 2 terrifying forces overlapped, becoming several times stronger as they surged towards Xueqiao. Boom! A powerful force spread in all directions, and lightning flashed. Lu Ming and Xueqiao were both sent flying backward. They were evenly matched. Chapter 457. 457 Face Slapping. CSI. This time, gasps could be heard from all around. Lu Ming could actually block Xueqiao's attack. How was this possible? Lu Ming was too powerful. This was heaven-defying. Damn it. Xueqiao bellowed in anger. He felt that he had lost all face after Lu Ming blocked his attack. A martial king expert would usually crush anyone below the rank of a martial king, regardless of whether they were a genius or not. This was because those who could break through to the martial king realm were peerless geniuses. Those who were not talented would find it difficult to break through to the martial king realm. Moreover, those who could break through to the martial king realm usually had to go through at least 3 battles. In other words, even the weakest of the martial kings could only win 3 battles when they were still martial grandmasters. Of course, nothing was absolute. There were also World War II geniuses who had broken through to the martial king realm, but there were too few of them. He was already a genius, and on top of that, there was the natural chasm of a martial king. It was too difficult to cross it. Now, Lu Ming had actually blocked one of his moves. It was unbelievable. A heaven-level martial arts technique. The power of Lu Ming's move is already equivalent to a heaven-level martial arts technique. The palace master of fire said with bright eyes. Not bad. I didn't expect that Lu Ming would be able to cultivate a heaven-rank martial art technique even before he reached the martial king realm. He's indeed very talented. Although it's barely the first stage of a heaven-rank lower-level martial art technique, it's already very rare. The Wind Palace master also nodded. Of course, the words of the hall masters were not concealed and spread far and wide. Everyone came to a sudden realization. Lu Ming had cultivated a heaven-level martial arts technique. No wonder he could block Xueqiao's attack. Even among the lower-level martial kings, there were many who had not cultivated a heaven-level martial skill. Xueqiao, didn't you say that you would defeat me in 3 moves? Now that you've made 2 moves, there's still 1 more move left. Lu Ming said with a smile. You're looking for death. Xueqiao bellowed. Boom! An even more powerful aura suddenly rushed out of Xueqiao's body. True essence filled his body like a tsunami. True origin and intent realm made Xueqiao's aura reach the peak. This was the true strength of a martial king. However, this was not the end. A lightning sword flew out, extremely bright. 6 Esilavir chakras were circling the combat sword. Lu Ming's gaze turned solemn. Xueqiao was going to unleash his full power. Lu Ming, you forced me to do this. If you can't withstand this move, you'll die. You've brought this upon yourself. Purple electric sword of destruction. Xueqiao let out a long howl and charged towards Lu Ming like a thunder god, slashing out a terrifying sword light. Boom! Without any hesitation, Lu Ming activated his blood meridian, which had already been converted into 50% essential core, and started to circulate it crazily. Then, the wind and fire intense soared into the sky. True Dragon Strike. A two-colored true dragon flew out with a roar. The roars of the dragon shook the heavens and earth. At this moment, everyone was stunned. Boom! The two-colored true dragon and Xueqiao's thunderbolt battle sword heavily collided. The divine guards, fighting stage let out a violent roar and kept shaking. The terrifying force and intent realm exploded in all directions. Everyone was shocked and wanted to dodge. The hall masters waved their hands and a light curtain formed, blocking the force. Boom! The light on the divine guard's platform dissipated. A figure took 9 steps back, each step causing the platform to rumble. It was Lu Ming. As for Xueqiao, he was also forced to take 3 steps back. Heavens! Everyone was staring at the two figures on the fighting ring in a daze. It was obvious that Lu Ming was at a disadvantage. However, everyone was not shocked by Xueqiao's power. On the contrary, they were shocked by Lu Ming. Xueqiao had already used all his strength, yet Lu Ming was still able to withstand it. He was only at a slight disadvantage and even forced Xueqiao to retreat a few steps. How was this possible? Many people even rubbed their eyes hard, thinking that they were dreaming. Nest, what did I just see? I'm going to witness a miracle. A half-step king can actually block the attack of a king and even push him back. This is crazy. In that case, doesn't that mean that Lu Ming already has the combat strength of a king? My god, this is too shocking. In the surroundings, many Tian divine guards were so excited that their faces were flushed red as they shouted. Even the palace masters were shocked. Wind and fire intense. This is the fusion of the wind and fire intense. Lu Ming clearly had not comprehended the intense before this. Now, he has comprehended both intense. This speed is too fast. The Wind Palace Master said in an extremely shocked manner. Cultivating 2 elements at the same time and being able to comprehend 2 types of force to the level of intent in such a short time. This kind of talent is really too shocking. The Palace Master of Fire also sighed. This was especially so for the Wind Palace Master. He recalled that he had previously advised Lu Ming to give up on the fire concept. After being rejected by Lu Ming, he was filled with displeasure and thought that Lu Ming was arrogant and stubborn. Now that he thought about it, his face was a little hot. Lu Ming used the results to tell everyone that he was not arrogant or stubborn. He had the talent to cultivate 2 concepts at the same time. On the side, Thunder Palace Master's face was extremely gloomy. In the crowd, Xing Wushuang's face turned even uglier. He was the first person to berate Lu Ming like an elder. He said that Lu Ming's future was limited and he could not be compared to him in the future. However, the truth was that Lu Ming cultivated 2 concepts at the same time and his speed was still terrifying. He was much faster than many people who cultivated 1 concept. In such a short period of time, both of them had comprehended intent. This was simply a slap to his face. His eyes were filled with cold, killing intent. Sheng Wushuang, what do you think of my wind and fire will? Lu Ming looked at Xing Wushuang with a smile as if he had sensed his gaze. I was just lucky. Besides, so what if I've comprehended the wind and fire essence? He's still going to be defeated. Shen Wushuang sneered. Is that so? Lu Ming's lips curled into an inexplicable smile. Lu Ming, go to hell. On the fighting ring, Xue Chao roared. He felt like he was going crazy. He was a martial king, but he had been forced back by a half-step king. This was a great humiliation. From now on, he would become a laughingstock among the king tiers. Since ancient times, how many kings had been forced back by half-step kings? He would be recorded in history. Therefore, he was furious and hateful. He could not wait to tear Lu Ming into pieces. Lu Ming, how can you stop me with your wind and fire mentality? Purple lightning sword of destruction, kill, kill, kill. Xue Chao roared, his killing intent surging like the tide. True essence gushed out, lightning flashed, and sword chi tore through the air. It was sharp and terrifying. With such a powerful battle power, normal half-step kings would be able to kill a large number of them with one sword. Unfortunately, Lu Ming was not an ordinary half-step king. If the wind and fire essences aren't enough, then I'll add another one. Lu Ming shouted coldly. Boom! Then, another essence realm of heaven and earth rushed out of Lu Ming's body. Bolts of lightning appeared in the sky. Thunder concept. As soon as the thunder concept was released, the world and all directions became silent. Space and time seemed to have frozen at this moment. Everyone's eyes were wide open, staring at Lu Ming. Even the 5 palace masters and the 12 guardians were unable to control their emotions and widen their eyes. Chapter 458. For 58 just this bit of strength. Hiss hiss hiss. Then gasps were heard. What's that? Thunder concept? Oh my god, oh my earth. Lu Ming has actually cultivated the thunder mentality and he has successfully comprehended it. 3 intense? How is that possible? I've never seen him use the thunder mentality before. This is too heaven-defying. Too heaven-defying. He's cultivating 3 wills at the same time and he's improving so fast. How are others supposed to live? In the past, who said that Lu Ming was arrogant, conceited, and stubborn? He must have been blind. Lu Ming clearly knows his own limitations and his talent. That's why he cultivated 3 concepts. If he only cultivated 1 concept, that would be a real stubborn and waste of talent. Su, lower your voice. That was said by the Wind Palace Master and the Lightning Palace Master. The Lightning Palace Master even asked Lu Ming to get out of the Lightning Palace and not let him listen to the class. Oh no, he couldn't have been heard, right? But I'm telling the truth. Cough cough. In the sky, the Palace Master of Wind coughed dryly, embarrassed. It seems like I was wrong. The Wind Palace Master laughed and did not get angry. However, Thunder Palace Master was different. His eyes were filled with hatred as he glared at Lu Ming. That day, he berated Lu Ming and asked him to get out of the Thunder Summit, saying that he was not qualified to listen to his lessons and that he would not have any achievements in his life. He even used his aura to suppress Lu Ming. But how long had it been? Not only had Lu Ming cultivated the wind and fire concept, but he had also cultivated the thunder concept. This was equivalent to Lu Ming giving him a tight slap across his face. Damn it, little bastard, this old man said you're a good-for-nothing, so you should be a good-for-nothing for the rest of your life. You actually dare to cultivate to this level? You're clearly going against this old man and embarrassing me. You deserve death. You deserve death. Thunder Palace Master roared in his heart. His eyes were extremely sinister. The moment Lu Ming's concept of thunder was unleashed, it shook the entire place and set off a monstrous uproar. Even Xue Chao himself was incomparably shocked. He retreated a few steps and even forgot to attack. Lu Ming's aura was wild. The 3 concepts were entangled together. He held the spear in one hand and walked towards Xue Chao step by step. Xue Chao, bring out your full strength. I'm really disappointed that you only have this little bit of battle strength. Lu Ming berated. Lu Ming, do you think you can fight me just because you've unleashed 3 intents? Naive die. Xue Chao managed to calm himself down, but his eyes were filled with killing intent. Kill, he must kill Lu Ming. Lu Ming's talent was too strong, and it made him tremble with fear. As for Qiu Changkong, his face had long since turned pale. 1,000 purple lightning sword slash. Xue Chao bellowed and raised his strength to the peak. He slashed out with his combat sword, sending countless thunderbolt sword chi towards Lu Ming. 10,000 dragon kill. Lu Ming cast the second move of the 3 wonders of the dragon god. Wind, fire, and lightning, the 3 intents merged together and pierced out with the spear. Dragon roars were heard as countless small 2-colored true dragons flew out and attacked the sword chi. That's right, it was only 2 colors because the thunder mentality hadn't completely merged with the wind and fire mentality. Although he did not merge them, the addition of the thunder concept still greatly increased Lu Ming's combat strength. Boom! Boom! The lightning sword chi collided with the 2-colored true dragon and exploded like fireworks. In just a few breaths, thousands of explosions were heard. Kill! Kill! With 2 loud shouts, Lu Ming and Xue Chao shuttled through the surging energy tide and collided heavily. Boom! Boom! The 2 of them kept clashing. The sword chi and the spear radiance shot up tens of thousands of meters into the sky, stirring the clouds. At the scene, everyone held their breath and watched the battle between the 2 in a daze. It's not enough, the pressure is not enough. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Although Xue Chao was slightly stronger than him, it was very limited. It was very difficult for him to give him enough pressure to fuse the wind and fire forces. Xue Chao, is this all you've got? Martial King? I think you're the trashiest Martial King, aren't you? If I were you, I'd just destroy my own cultivation. Lu Ming shouted, his voice filled with disdain. Everyone was speechless. Although Xue Chao had just broken through to Martial King not long ago, he was definitely not the worst Martial King. One had to know that Xue Chao himself was a terrifying genius. During the martial arts Grandmaster era, he was a 4-battle genius. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been chosen by the Thunder Palace Master as a disciple. Even if he was a 4-time warrior of the martial arts Grandmaster stage, he would not be the worst after breaking through to the Martial King stage. His combat strength would not be too weak either. However, in Lu Ming's words, he was the worst Martial King. Thunder Palace Master's lips trembled in anger. As for Xue Chao, he was so angry that his eyes were bloodshot. From the start of the battle until now, Xue Chao knew that he was destined to become a laughingstock. However, he still had a chance. As long as he defeated Lu Ming, he could at least save some face. He gritted his teeth and bellowed, "Lu Ming, you're the one who forced me to do this. You forced me to do this." Xue Chao roared. Soon after, his finger glowed and a medicinal pill appeared. He swallowed it in one gulp. Boom! After Xue Chao swallowed this pill, the true essence in his body went berserk as if it had gone mad. It became turbulent and surged, becoming twice as strong as before. Kill! Xue Chao's eyes were bloodshot and his long hair fluttered in the wind. He held the thunder sword in his hand and charged towards Lu Ming in a frenzy. The strength of his primeval essence had doubled, greatly increasing Xue Chao's battle strength. Clang! Lu Ming and Xue Chao exchanged a blow. He felt a surge of violent energy surging towards him, and his body could not help but retreat. What a powerful force! This is just right. Lu Ming was filled with fighting spirit. However, the scene was in chaos. That's an explosive yuan pill. Xue Chao actually consumed an explosive yuan pill. How despicable! Explosive yuan pill. Once consumed, one's Zhen Qi will go berserk and double its previous strength. However, the side effect is also very strong. After the medicinal effect wears off, one's Zhen Yuan will become impure and even become dispirited. There will be a long period of weakness, and one will need to pay a considerable price to recover. Hee, especially for someone like Xue Chao who has just broken through. The explosive yuan pill is equivalent to a poison pill. If it's not handled properly, the path of martial arts in the future can be considered to be cut off. He's been forced into a corner. The surroundings were filled with discussions. Thunder Palace Master, Xue Chao has already broken the rules. In the sky, the Wind Palace Master looked at the Thunder Palace Master and said with an ugly expression, "Violation? How is it against the rules?" Before the competition, there was no rule that forbade the use of external forces. Thunder Palace Master said with a cold face, "You're really despicable." The Palace Master of Wind was furious, but he was also helpless. Indeed, before the competition, who would have thought of this? Who would have thought that Xue Chao would use external forces? Everyone thought that Xue Chao would win for sure. They were not worried that Lu Ming would use external forces, which was considered good. "Die, you little bastard, die." In the crowd, Xing Wushuang growled. This battle was not only related to his reputation, but also to 30,000 supreme spiritual crystals. He naturally paid special attention to it. Boom! At that moment, the battle on the fighting ring continued. With the help of the explosive yuan pill's medicinal power, Xue Chao frantically attacked Lu Ming. "Die, die!" Xue Chao bellowed, his hatred for Lu Ming seeped deep into his bones. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Immortal Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.